Earth football, Cristiano Ronaldo thought I would go assist him. Hey. Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction. So don't try any techniques you hear here in real life, your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 401 First Warm-Up Match, Dalian Scheid. As time goes by, teams have gradually returned to training camps. Some have even announced their upcoming friendlies and other matches. Sporting Lisbon has 3 friendlies this year. Friendlies are a delicate matter. Opponents can't all be weak, as this prevents the testing of new players and formations. Conversely, opponents can't all be strong, as consecutive losses can dampen players' early season enthusiasm and even be a bad omen. Sporting Lisbon's schedule this year is quite reasonable. Their 3rd friendlies are against Ligue 1 side Nice. This summer, Sporting Lisbon acquired Patrice Evra from Nice. The €2 million transfer fee satisfied Nice, so when Sporting Lisbon approached them for friendlies, they didn't hesitate for a second. Evra's role was too inconsistent. While he played in the midfield and forward positions, he lacked the composure expected of such a player. Nice had been wanting to sell him for a while but hadn't found a bargain. Evra, you didn't say that. Sporting Lisbon's 2nd friendlies are against Premier League side Chelsea. Needless to say, Chelsea are extremely satisfied with Sporting Lisbon. They generally believe Sporting Lisbon has helped them develop a centre-back whose current market value exceeds €15 million. Some extreme fans even believe Terry could become a Chelsea legend, with a peak market value potentially reaching €30 million. However, Deng Kai dismissed this as a joke, saying that in 20 years, he'd be worth at least €100 million. After all, players Chelsea spends around €100 million on in the future are unlikely to become club legends. But from another perspective, Sporting Lisbon's loan of a Premier League starting caliber centre-back, Terry, for a very small amount is still a good deal. Moreover, this centre-back played a key role in helping the team win the treble last season. As for Sporting Lisbon's first per-season friendly opponent, that's something to excite domestic fans. It's a domestic club, Dalian Scheid. Even more surprisingly, it's said that Sporting Lisbon proactively contacted Scheid to arrange this friendly. How impressive is that? When this news broke, the Chinese football community erupted in jubilation. Has European football finally taken notice of Chinese football? Is Chinese football about to rise? But soon, the truth was uncovered by Dongqiudi, a Chinese sports media outlet. Dongqiudi published an article titled, "Witness the latest lineup of the European treble winners. Behind the VIP treatment may be Marx's overtures to the Chinese national team." The report detailed Marx's achievements over the past 3 years, calling him the biggest contributor to Sporting Lisbon's treble victory. It even shamelessly attributed the World Youth Championship success to Marxa. Keep in mind, this was the Portuguese team led by the seemingly invincible coach, Kai. The article claimed Marxa was very interested in joining the Chinese national team coaching staff and thus actively facilitated the collaboration. Domestic reporters tried to verify this with Dalian Scheid, but Dalian Scheid didn't know the specifics and, being too embarrassed to say no, simply agreed to Dongqiudi's version of events. The news spread like wildfire, and the Chinese football community was caught in a bind. Public demand for Marxa to coach was overwhelming. Eventually, even the leadership intervened. Therefore, the team's internal decision was that if Marco could lead this newly formed Sporting Lisbon team to a resounding victory over Dalian Scheid by 3 goals or more, and if they could field stars like Matheus, Guardiola, and Deschamps, they would give Marco a surprise, such as hiring him to join the national team coaching staff after the match. Upon receiving the news, Marco immediately consulted with Deng Kai. Deng Kai said he would take care of everything. As for why Deng Kai made this arrangement, it was related to his understanding of the national team. After the incident involving the future programmer, some people said it didn't mean much to the national team, those bad things would inevitably resurface sooner or later. But Deng Kai believed that the phrase repeatedly mentioned in the storm was very true, maintaining the normalization of the anti-gang campaign. As long as there's more sweeping, elimination, crackdown, and cleansing, even if the team cannot lead Chinese football to rise, at least they can avoid dragging Chinese football down. From Chen Tao and Dong Fangzhou to Deng Xiaoxiang and Wang Chu, these are all the reasons on the surface. Behind the scenes, in short, rather than waiting 20 years to overturn the table, it's better to expose this darkness sooner and let Chinese football develop in the sunlight for a while. Otherwise, watching the women's national team and Japan make a name for themselves in the World Cup, isn't that heartbreaking? Time quickly arrived at the day of the friendly match. At least 100,000 fans flooded into the 80,000-seat stadium of Dalian People's Stadium. The star-studded Sporting Lisbon players received enthusiastic support from the fans during the warm-up phase. Except for Deschamps, who was temporarily absent due to important personal matters, the entire Sporting Lisbon team was present. Although the head coach was Trigura, Maxi was in charge of the press conference and on-field command for this friendly match. Maxi even stated at the pre-match press conference that, barring any unforeseen circumstances, his goal for this match was to ensure that all players on the team could play, giving Chinese fans the best possible experience. This further won him the favor of Chinese fans. During the warm-up phase, the level of popularity varied among different players, as Sporting Lisbon still had many relatively unknown players. Players like Yaya Touré, Vidic, Evra, Macon, Kaká, and Veloso were largely unknown. Reina and Ronaldinho were slightly better off. The former was Barcelona's backup goalkeeper, a star player for a top club, while the latter was the team's most expensive signing, and those who follow Sporting Lisbon should pay attention to this football genius as described by football experts. Ibrahimovic, Drogba, Pepe, and Barzagli were slightly more popular, thanks to their previous stint with Sporting Lisbon last season. Ibrahimovic, in particular, gained a slight edge due to his aloof personality and penchant for Tai Chi. Pepe, known for his UEFA Cup flying kick against Barcelona's De Boer, also gained a slight edge. Then there were superstars like Guardiola and Deschamps, whom all fans recognized. Wu Zedong, who was promoted from Sporting Lisbon's youth academy to the first team this season, also enjoyed a similar level of popularity in China. After all, he's their own kid, fans see him as if they see the hope of Chinese football. Then there are the two superstars, Matthäus and Schmeichel. The former was once the world's best player, the latter a Manchester United legend and two-time treble winner. They're always the center of attention. But surprisingly, Font's popularity is in no way inferior to Matthäus. Font, normal, my ability is about equal to Matthäus. He's stronger than me, but I'm taller than him, we've had our share of wins and losses. The reason for this is that Font frequently expresses his support for Deng Kai in various interviews. Yes, not just support, but full support. He's jokingly called Europe's #1 Deng Kai fan by domestic fans. Trigura's popularity in China is also in this tier. The only players with higher popularity than them are Maxius and Cristiano Ronaldo within Sporting Lisbon. The former needs no introduction, the Saint Samuel. The future chief assistant coach of the national team, the cornerstone of Chinese football. If he really joins the national team after the season, this year could even be defined as the inaugural year of Chinese football. Cristiano Ronaldo has also earned the nickname among Chinese fans, Portugal's most affectionate player. This is because almost every training session interview involves Ronaldo and Deng Kai. Ronaldo is inseparable from Deng Kai, and Deng Kai is inseparable from Ronaldo. Even in private, the person Deng Kai spends the most time with isn't his girlfriend Hathaway, but Ronaldo. This season, due to Ronaldinho's arrival, the name Ronaldo has become ambiguous in China. To make it easier to distinguish, Chinese fans have altered the Xinhua dictionary, or rather, the online encyclopedia, so that, except for little Ronaldo specifically referring to Ronaldinho, all other Ronaldo-related phrases refer specifically to Cristiano Ronaldo. This is the treatment of the top player among Deng Kai's 5 key players. Ronaldo, under his command? Of course, Deng Kai's appearance caused a frenzy. What warmed the hearts of Chinese fans was that Deng Kai didn't rush to warm up or just wave casually. Instead, he jogged around the stadium, carefully greeting fans from all sides, and even interacting with some of them. At that moment, domestic fans felt like the happiest group of fans. Because they knew that no matter where Deng Kai played, this kid was always one of us. Chapter 402 Joe performs, team's new formation. Hello, radio viewers. I'm here to introduce Sporting Lisbon's starting lineup for this match. Wang Jiangxiang made a slip of the tongue, uttering a joke that Southerners would never understand. In the South, we might eat tangin, sweet rice balls, during the Lunar New Year, but definitely not dumplings. Max's tactics today are very bold. It's an unconventional 4-4-2 formation. The two strikers, Drogba and Ibrahimovic, are a classic twin tower tactic. Drogba is 1.89 meters tall, and Ibrahimovic is even taller at 1.95 meters. Both players played crucial roles for Sporting Lisbon last season. Ibrahimovic's talent is undeniable. He has the best footwork and ball control among players of his size. His imagination is something countless mediocre players can't even dream of. And Drogba, despite Ibrahimovic's excellence, still kept the Swedish prodigy on the bench, demonstrating his significant contribution to the team. Deng Kai has said more than once that Drogba's impact cannot be fully captured by statistics, even to the point of fully. Drogba's impact is completely beyond what statistics can show. The left and right wingers are Cristiano Ronaldo and Ronaldinho. Ronaldo rarely plays on the wing. His strengths are speed, a good shot, strong attacking aggression, and a tendency to dive into the center in the penalty area. If he plays as a winger, his weaknesses in passing selection and technique become apparent. His defensive abilities are also insufficient, and he would crowd out the space of central midfielders. But overall, despite these shortcomings, his strengths still allow him to shine in the winger position. On the other hand, Ronaldinho is making way for Ronaldo. He previously played as a left winger, left midfielder, and attacking midfielder. But Ronaldo is, after all, the team's star striker, and Ronaldinho needs to adapt to him. This is the best way for him to integrate into Sporting Lisbon. However, even on the right, Ronaldinho's dribbling and passing are still sharp. He's a typical samba dancer with exceptional individual dribbling skills. Left midfielder, Duncan. Right midfielder, Guardiola. This is Guardiola's first start since joining Sporting Lisbon. The Barcelona captain is under immense pressure joining the enemy team. In the past period, Guardiola has been affected by injuries, and his form and status within the team have declined significantly. This also significantly reduced the value of his autographed footballs, causing those who hoarded them to lose a lot of money. It's said that Lisbon was one of the hardest hit areas in this financial crisis. Deng Kai needs no introduction. He's absolutely the pride of Chinese football. Some in Portugal even believe he'll become the Zidane of the Portuguese national team. The backline, from left to right, consists of Pepe, Vidic, Barzagli, and Macon. Barzagli was selected for last season's UEFA Cup Best Zai, and this summer, several Serie A giants, including Juventus, Inter Milan, Roma, and Lazio, extended offers to him. But the grateful Barzagli, after Deng Kai announced he would stay with the team, also expressed his willingness to stay with Deng Kai for another year. Pepe was reportedly a byproduct of Sporting Lisbon's initial signing with a South American team, but Sporting Lisbon pulled off a brilliant move, nurturing him into a star. His most famous incident was probably his flying kick at De Boer during the match against Barcelona. This boosted his popularity domestically, as that kick was somewhat in support of Deng Kai. Vidic and Macon's backgrounds are still unclear. They are young players recruited by Sporting Lisbon. Macon is also a major competitor for Wu Zedong, a young Chinese player playing abroad. The goalkeeper is Schmeichel, who is undoubtedly still Sporting Lisbon's first choice in that position this season. The match kicked off quickly. At the start, Daly and Scheide's players pressed aggressively, displaying impressive defensive and pressing abilities due to their excitement. However, after 10 minutes, their stamina and enthusiasm waned significantly. In the 11th minute, a dropped Ibrahimovic executed a brilliant through ball, nutmegging a defender before delivering a through pass. Drogba unleashed a powerful shot in front of the goal. Sporting Lisbon took a 1-0 lead. Just 5 minutes later, Deng Kai's through ball pierced Daly and Scheide's defense. Ibrahimovic feinted a shot before passing to Drogba. Drogba tapped the ball into the empty net, completing his brace. These two forwards, who have a certain degree of rivalry, get along very well. Their relationship isn't as hostile as outsiders perceive. Although Drogba started, he exhausted Ibrahimovic's energy, completing the physical battles. If Ibrahimovic wasn't satisfied with being a substitute, he would take on those physical tasks, a style of play he disliked. Moreover, Drogba's talent is far inferior to Ibrahimovic's, and he is also known for his humility. If you had a striker with good footwork and a penchant for showing off, Ibrahimovic might have been head-to-head with the opponent. Daly and Scheide then intensified their efforts to contain Ibrahimovic's drop-down plays. But in the 37th minute, taking advantage of Drogba's forward run drawing all attention, Ibrahimovic, having failed to drop back, quietly broke the offside trap. Dalian Shai didn't mark him, or rather, didn't even try to. Because the ball was still at Guardiola's feet in the backfield. Bang! Guardiola delivered a long, through ball across the halfway line, and Ibrahimovic scored 1-on-1. The score was 3-0. The fans applauded Ibrahimovic, who raised his hands high after scoring. After the first half ended, the organizers arranged a wonderful song and dance performance during halftime. At Deng Kai's request, they contacted Jejo, a well-known singer from Taiwan. Jejo performed a three-part medley during halftime: Lovely Woman, Tornado, and Nunchucks. Among them, Nunchucks was a new song that hadn't been released this year. In fact, Jejo was flattered upon receiving the invitation. He wasn't particularly well regarded in the market, and to be able to sing at a match featuring so many European stars was definitely a huge honor for him. At this time, the phenomenon of idolizing foreigners was still quite prevalent in China. After learning that it was Portuguese Chinese star Deng Kai who had placed the order, Jejo made a special trip to Sporting Lisbon's locker room before the match to thank Deng Kai, take a photo, and present him with a copy of his upcoming album, Fantasy. At halftime, Sporting Lisbon had already made substitutions. Drogba, Ibrahimovic, Guardiola, Pepe, and Schmeichel were replaced by Kaká, Yaya Touré, Evra, Reina, and Wu Zedong. The formation remained 4-4-2, but many players' positions changed. For example, Ronaldinho, who seemed a bit out of form in the first half, and the sharp Cristiano Ronaldo both moved to the forward positions. Ronaldo on the left, Ronaldinho on the right. The two Ronaldos together looked incredibly cool. Chapter 403 Little Say, Kai's heated seat. As expected, perhaps due to his position or adapting to his teammates, Ronaldinho's performance improved significantly in the second half. He showcased his footwork skills, going from initially stunning to instilling fear in Dalian Shai's defenders in less than 5 minutes. Within those 5 minutes, by sheer chance, Ronaldinho dribbled past 3 defenders, providing an assist for Cristiano Ronaldo. 4-0. At this moment, the camera panned to the VIP stands. Several high-ranking officials from the Football Association and members of the national team coaching staff whispered among themselves, expressing their approval of Maxi's coaching abilities. In the boxes, out of the camera's view, were even higher-ranking leaders. While pouring tea for the other person, Zhang Yunzhu said, "This isn't the first time you've seen Deng Kai play. How about it, dare to bet with me?" The other person looked at Deng Kai celebrating with Ronaldinho on the camera and said, "When it comes to football stars, most people only mention strikers. Even the most talented midfielders are less well known. In the future, among most people who aren't football fans, there will definitely be more people who know Ronaldo than Zidane. But Deng Kai's of Chinese descent no matter what. If he plays for China, the national team coaching staff can't possibly prevent him from playing. You'll definitely lose this bet." Zhang Yunzhu shook her head, "Don't even mention Deng Kai. Even if the real Ronaldo and Zidane join the national team, they might not get a chance to play unless you show your support." The other person frowned, "You're exaggerating. Zhang Yunzhu, since the odds are so high, are you going to bet? If you win, I can go back next year for Chinese New Year." "Okay." The other person nodded, "If you win, I'll give the national football fans an explanation next year." On the field, the game continued. The starting lineup was Cristiano Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Kaká, Deng Kai, Touré, Wu Zedong, Evra, Vidic, Barzagli, Macon, and Reina. Wu Zedong's position pleased domestic fans, as he could indeed play as a winger. Macon thus escaped being booed by the home crowd. Had he dared to take Wu Zedong's position, he likely would have had a difficult time leaving the stadium that day. Macon quickly showcased his strengths at right back. His speed, dribbling, crossing, physical strength, and attacking awareness were all excellent. Aside from his speed, which was inconsistent with Wu Zedong's, he was significantly better in other areas. Bang! Macon's cross was headed away by a Dalian Shai player. Deng Kai jumped and flicked the ball with his heel, and Kaká on the left wing followed up with a clean shot. Goal. 5-0. At this point, the leaders of Dalian Shai and the football club were getting restless. This score was already high enough, there was no need to extend it further. Otherwise, the lively friendly match would turn into a friendship-ending disaster. Perhaps sensing their inner thoughts, in the 65th minute, Deng Kai requested to be substituted during a dead ball situation. Wang Jiangxiang was quite worried. Deng Kai requested to be substituted. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with his body? Probably not. Deng Kai played relatively low-key today, without any intense collisions with the opponents. Before leaving the field, Deng Kai found Kaká and exchanged a few words with him. This should be to encourage Kaká. Because after Deng Kai leaves the field, Kaká is very likely to be in charge of the attack in midfield, and Kaká has returned to his most comfortable position. He should thank Deng Kai, otherwise he wouldn't have this opportunity. Oh. Deng Kai sat down next to Trigura. This is Maxi's position. Maxi was sitting here before, but he just got up to go to the sidelines to give instructions. It seems Deng Kai is going to report some of his feelings on the field, which may have some impact on Sporting Lisbon's starting lineup and main formation for the new season. This should be a task given to him by Trigura. On the sidelines, Maxi, who was pretending to give instructions, looked at Wang Jiangxiang's live commentary with disdain. What do you mean this is Maxi's position? Little Ma, I'm just warming up Kai's seat. Haven't you heard of heated seats? And what do you mean has some impact on the starting lineup and main formation? That's a decisive impact. Did you see Trigura reporting the relevant data for the game to Kai so far? The player replacing Deng Kai this time is the biggest star of the game, Matheus. Also, Barzagli was substituted, with Veloso, the son of the former Benfica captain, coming on as a substitute. Then the team's formation changed again, from 442 to 4223. The forward line is Ronaldinho, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Wu Zidane. Domestic fans are excited because Wu Zidane is positioned further forward. Their cheering is chilling to Dalian Scheid. Who are our own people? Have you even figured it out? Fans, those who don't cheat us are our own people. Two attacking midfielders, Kaká and Matheus. This is Viana's position last season, the team's attacking core in midfield and forward line. Two defensive midfielders, Veloso and Yaya Touré. The three center-backs are Pablo Evra, 1.73 m, Nemanja Vidic, 1.91 m, and Macon, 1.84 m. No wonder Sporting Lisbon called Evra a filler. If a player can be substituted and then brought on again, Evra will obviously be replaced. He's a bit too forced in that position, especially considering Macon's height on the other side. This formation is the same one Sporting Lisbon used to win the treble last season. But apart from Ronaldo and Lothar Matthäus, there are no other players from last season's squad in the formation. So, theoretically, the performance shouldn't be too good. But Ronaldinho, back on the left wing, really took off. He had previously been on the right, where he could play, but wasn't comfortable. Being able to play and playing well are two different things. On the left, Ronaldinho was like a Brazilian football genius, dribbling past opponents and sending Dalian Scheid reeling, before sweeping the ball across the goal. Ronaldo and Wu Zidane double-teamed, with Ronaldo drawing attention and Wu Zidane finishing at the far post. 6-0. Sporting Lisbon went on a rampage. Dalian Scheid, facing imminent defeat, quickly substituted a group of reserve players in an attempt to alleviate the embarrassment. Dalian Scheid, it's not that we're incapable, it's just that we're rotating players. This included Feng Xiaoding, who had faced Deng Kai 2 years ago, and Dalian Scheid's talented striker Dongfang Zhou. Feng Xiaoding watched Wu Zidane score his goal from the sidelines, filled with emotion. Who would have thought that in just 2 years, Wu Zidane, who had been playing in Portugal, would have entered the first team of a Portuguese powerhouse. And he, even with a comprehensive training program and connections in China, had only just entered Dalian Scheid's first team. The difference between Sporting Lisbon and Dalian Scheid isn't just a treble, it's the insurmountable gap between Asian and European football. With most defenders drawn to the dazzling style of Ronaldinho, Kaká's previously unnoticed forward runs began to show their power. Chapter 404 The Saint of Salsa in the World, the Saint of Salsa in China. Matheus played a through ball, and Kaká controlled it before dribbling down the middle towards the penalty area. He was surrounded by Dalian Scheid players, but none could stop him. Kaká's positioning and speed far exceeded expectations. His dribbling wasn't as agile as Viana's or Quaresma's, but his speed was much faster. Bang! Kaká unleashed a powerful shot into the net, completing his brace. 7-0. Feng Xiaoding stayed behind Kaká the entire time, but didn't hinder the attack in the slightest. After the celebrations, substitutions were announced. Because it was a friendly match, there were no restrictions on the number of substitutions. Ronaldo was replaced by his teammate Font, meaning Sporting Lisbon had used all their players. This gave Daly and Scheid a reason for their post-match explanation. Sporting Lisbon rotated their entire team, allowing them to rest and prepare, so it was normal for our players to lack stamina later on. However, Font didn't move to defense. Instead, he directly replaced Ronaldo as the team's center forward. Wang Jiangxiang thoughtfully explained, Sporting Lisbon has used this style of play before. Deng Kai and Font used it to defeat their opponents in the youth team. Max is a tactical genius. In the 82nd minute, Sporting Lisbon won a corner kick. Ronaldinho's corner was deflected and bounced back. Macon crossed the ball without stopping it, and Vidic leaped high in the penalty area. The Yugoslavian's header was exceptionally powerful, easily scoring 8-0. The fans in the stadium went wild. So many goals in one game, it was such a bargain. One game is better than 5. The CEO of Nanfu Battery, who was watching the game, was inspired by this and thought of his own battery's advertising slogan. However, fate is never without meaning. In the 88th minute, Daly and Scheid's substitute striker Dong Fangzhou had a chance to shoot. His long-range shot hit Touré's Sheen, who was blocking the shot, and the ball changed direction, causing Reina to dive in the wrong direction. 1-8. Dong Fangzhou salvaged some pride for Daly and Scheid. Fans, can one goal really salvage some pride? Dong Fangzhou, why don't you do it? In the 90th minute, Evra kicked off, passing the ball to Ronaldinho. But he never imagined that the most spectacular assist of his life would be born like this. Ronaldinho dribbled directly towards the Daly and Scheid penalty area, performing a series of fancy moves, frittatas, oxtails, stepovers, dribbling past opponents, chipping the ball over defenders. You only see these kinds of flashy moves in Brazilian football commercials. Even Ronaldinho himself was surprised by his own performance. Bang! With a long-range shot, Ronaldinho dribbled past 5 players and scored. All the fans in the stadium were stunned. Ronaldinho's performance made everyone admit that Sporting Lisbon's €15 million investment in him was well worth it. Even with a score of 9-1, not many people realized just how formidable Sporting Lisbon was this season. After all, Daly and Scheid was indeed too weak. After the match, domestic football news exploded. Deng Kai quietly provides an assist, discussing the game with Tragura and Maxa like a coach rather than a player. DJ Drogba scores his first goal of the season for Sporting Lisbon. Drogba scores twice, no pressure against Daly and Scheid. Swedish prodigy toys with Daly's defense, 2 assists and a goal with ease. Ronaldinho's absolute highlight. A review of Daly's defense, a perfect interpretation of Samba football. The hidden concern behind Kaká's brace, does he and Deng Kai have positional conflicts? Wu Zedong scores his first goal for Sporting Lisbon. Will he become a starter this season? Nice's timing was good, could ever become the worst left centre-back in the Portuguese league? Wenger's eye is sharp, Yaya Touré's technique is rough and he scored an own goal in his first match. €4 million is a bit of a loss. Daly and Scheid only had 3 shots in the second half, 1 on target, and Reina conceded a goal. 9-1. Sporting Lisbon gets its first win of the season, everyone is in great form. However, at the post-match press conference, these newly released news reports immediately lost their luster. In front of the entire media, the Football Association leadership stated directly, "We have already sent the invitation to Marx's email address. He will give us an answer within 3 days at the latest." Countless Chinese people in the audience had tears welling up in their eyes. The savior of Chinese football, have you finally arrived? But Marxa went even further. Deng Kai started reviewing the contract for him right there in the locker room, even missing the post-match press conference for this. Rushing to the end of the press conference, Marxa, seeing Deng Kai not in agreement, stood up and announced, "Now, I announce. I am willing to accept the position of assistant coach of the Chinese national football team offered by the Chinese Football Association." At the same time, Cristiano Ronaldo pressed play, pointing the radio into the microphone. The stirring athletes' march began, bringing back memories of morning gymnastics and annual sports meets. The atmosphere reached a fever pitch, almost like a 100-day countdown rally for the college entrance examination. This moment is destined to be recorded in the history of Chinese football. Donkey, a popular sports betting website, was the first to publish the related headline, preemptively releasing the news before Maxa even spoke, giving its domestic counterparts a lesson. The headline was titled, "The World's Maxa. China's Maxa." This headline was instantly cited by domestic sports media giants, including top-tier sports media outlets like Sports Weekly and Football. Dongqiuti further solidified its position as the leading football website in China, achieving an astonishing daily increase in user numbers within half a summer, successfully surpassing 100,000 registered users. However, the reason Dongqiuti was able to attract so many users so quickly, and most of them were die-hard users, was not only due to its superior speed in publishing news, but also the quality of its news. For example, regarding Maxi joining the national team, most media outlets could only echo this slogan, repeating the same old content found in other newspapers. At most, they might add some personal speculation and analysis from their editors. Seeing one or two such articles would be acceptable, but seeing every single one would be incredibly frustrating for fans. But Dongqiuti was different. At the time, Dongqiuti, a popular sports magazine, created a column dedicated to Marco, compiling numerous news articles about him. It also summarized the background and context of Marco's joining the Chinese national team and delved into the details of his contract. Dongqiuti stated, Marco's words. There's no problem for the Chinese team to reach the 2002 Japan-Korea World Cup final. This is not difficult for renowned coaches like Milutinovic and myself. Milutinovic's response, Milutinovic is far inferior to Marco. How could Milutinovic possibly compare to you? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 405, China's national football team advances to the finals ahead of schedule. Things seem a bit chaotic within Sporting Lisbon. Dongqiuti, FIFA is shocked. Maxi has reserved a World Cup final spot in advance without notifying them. They apologize for their oversight. Dongqiuti, the French and Brazilian football confederations expressed surprise. They thought they would be the first team to qualify besides the host nation. But considering the quality of the Chinese coaching staff, they cannot completely rule out this possibility. Dongqiuti, FIFA has confirmed internally that it has not yet awarded the Chinese team a finals qualification, but looks forward to that day. Immediately, people hailed Maxi as amazing. However, the veracity of these news reports is difficult to verify. This is precisely where Dongqiuti excels. Regarding player experiences and past events, they have a significant advantage due to their closer proximity to European sources, making their information highly reliable. They can even provide video evidence for obscure news, like Cristiano Ronaldo has never won a one-on-one against Deng Kai. Ronaldo? But in terms of public opinion and attracting attention, they are very willing to make bold claims, with explosive results. With the news that Marquez had led the Chinese team to the World Cup finals ahead of schedule, his continued role as assistant coach for Sporting Lisbon seemed insignificant. Chinese fans were quite understanding. Marquez was willing to manage the Chinese team via teleconference or remotely. As long as results were achieved, any request from him was reasonable. Especially after Marquez voluntarily reduced his salary by half, meaning he would take 10 million RMB less, domestic fans were even more fond of him. Even with the remaining 10 million RMB, Marquez generously stated that he would donate it to the Deng Kai Football Foundation to support young domestic and international players and ball boys, represented by Chen Tao and Messi. Chen Tao, Marquez, show your generosity. Messi, brother Kai, you're my forever brother. Leaving aside the uproar Marquez caused in Chinese football circles, Sporting Lisbon continued playing its friendly matches. But the results weren't great. The 9-1 victory against Alien Shide was completely meaningless. Conversely, their second match against Chelsea was a tough one for Sporting Lisbon. They managed to pull one back through Vidic's header, but ultimately lost 1-3 at Stamford Bridge. In their subsequent trip to Nice, both sides played attacking football, ending in a 4-4 draw. Following the series of matches, European media outlets were not optimistic about Sporting Lisbon's form this season. Kicker, Sporting Lisbon retained most of its players this summer and made several signings, including a promising young talent like Ronaldinho. But overall, they lack the ability to integrate these players. They're constantly changing their player roster and formation, trying to find their best moment. But judging from the results, at least so far, they haven't found that balance. France football, Ronaldinho's talent far surpasses that of Sporting Lisbon's original midfield maestro, Deng Kai. Deng Kai should move deeper, like he did last season to make way for Viana and Quaresma, to give Ronaldinho more space to operate. Similarly, Kaká has a real chance to compete with Deng Kai for a starting midfield position. If Sporting Lisbon doesn't sign Deng Kai, they'll have to cut back on their defensive midfield and backline. Sky Sports: Ronaldinho prefers the left flank, he's always played on the left. Cristiano Ronaldo is indeed very strong, but in terms of creativity, he's far inferior to Ronaldinho. Cristiano Ronaldo should play on the right wing, leaving the left wing to Ronaldinho, who can play a more significant role there. It's clear the main point of contention is Ronaldinho. His brilliance is undeniable. Ronaldinho's agent, Eric Rovi, also supports Ronaldinho competing for a core position in the team, aiming to secure a revamped contract with the club at the end of the season with a stellar performance, thus earning more commission. He even hopes Ronaldinho can revamp his contract or transfer every year, ensuring his agent's earnings are plentiful. He believes in Ronaldinho's potential and is a professional agent. Ronaldinho is also tempted. But, hey, Matheus, you're late again. During morning training, Deng Kai approached the belated Matheus. Lothar, your attitude is truly disheartening. I'm starting to regret suggesting to Coach Trigger that you start in the European Super Cup. That would make me seem unprofessional. Matheus almost knelt down. No one knows what he went through after Bayern's Champions League victory. It's only because he's weathered so many storms that he's survived to this day. If it were based on the mental fortitude of future young stars, he would have been finished long ago. The scorn from Effenberg's fans was unbelievable. No, Kai? I promise I won't be late next time, Matheus declared enthusiastically. Deng Kai nodded. Of course I believe you. Get back to the team. We always respect the Ballon d'Or winner. Any other player would be punished with 10 laps around the field, but you don't actually need to. Maxi was frantically taking notes in his notebook. Kai's words are absolutely essential for future management studies. Mastering Kai's words is equivalent to mastering leadership skills. Of course I believe you means I find it hard to believe you. Stop with the nonsense. We respect the Ballon d'Or winner. Are you using your Ballon d'Or status to gain special privileges? Any other player would be punished with 10 laps, but you don't actually need to. The word actually here is brilliantly chosen, meaning you absolutely have to run. I can't stop you. Matheus, a notorious womanizer, certainly had excellent reading comprehension. He immediately turned and ran laps on the field without looking back. Ronaldinho looked around. The new players this year were all surprised, but the veteran players were used to it. When DJ Deschamps returned to the team, he immediately sought out Deng Kai, and the two chatted for a long time. Hearing that Deschamps regretted not being able to go to China, Deng Kai expressed understanding for Deschamps' private schedule and inquired about Deschamps' son's health, thankfully finding him all right. It's worth noting that the first person Deschamps reported to upon his return wasn't even Trigura, but Deng Kai. It's surreal. Faced with such a rival, the outside world completely misunderstood Ronaldinho's true situation. At noon, during lunchtime, Guardiola again proactively sat next to Deng Kai. As a big-name star who joined this year, he also surrounded Deng Kai. Perhaps this was because he and Deng Kai were already good friends, but Ronaldinho believed that even without this relationship, Guardiola would still be by Deng Kai's side now. Everyone is born with intelligence, but time and experience can equip people with emotional intelligence. There must be a reason why these older players are all centering their attention on Deng Kai. Ronaldinho told himself to observe for a while longer. He couldn't rush for a position, or it would cause discord within the team. No, not discord within the team. Ronaldinho looked at the young frontis greeting Deng Kai. Perhaps, in the end, it would only be him who was at odds? Amatamba. Taking a step back opens up a world of possibilities. Maybe Deng Kai will give up his position himself? Or perhaps, he could find greater happiness in his new position. Chapter 406: Shaping Players into the Desired Shape. Honestly, you can't possibly not see that Ronaldinho is stronger on the left wing. From Ronaldo's perspective, moving to the right wing wouldn't be conducive to his performance, but from the team's perspective, that's the best way to maximize benefits. Guardiola's eyes darted around, clearly not holding back. This bald guy was shrewd. He probably meant more than just that Ronaldo should move to the right wing. He also wanted Deng Kai to move to the backfield. Deng Kai completely ignored Guardiola. Guardiola was embarrassed. It wasn't until Guardiola noticed that Deng Kai had forgotten to serve soup and then proactively ladled a bowl for him that Deng Kai leisurely spoke up. Normally, I don't discuss team building tactics with players. Unless I need to motivate a player, then I'll talk about the parts relevant to him. The implication was clear: Ronaldinho and Ronaldo's positions are none of your business. But I saw your application to join the Trigger Max, a tactical discussion group. After finishing his soup, Deng Kai gestured for Guardiola to get another bowl. This group was established at Deng Kai's initiative, focusing on tactical research. Current members include Deng Kai, Trigura, Maxija, Matos, Deschamps, Schmeichel, João Pinto, and Paulo Bento. Team tactical analysis, player deployment, and other aspects are all discussed in this group. Their 2 matches against Barcelona in last year's UEFA Cup were their masterpieces, earning them some recognition in the industry. Part of Barcelona's reputation stems from this. After finishing his second bowl of soup, Deng Kai said, "At first, I thought with your tactical expertise and personal experience, you should understand this move. I didn't expect, you've disappointed me a bit, Guardiola." Guardiola racked his brains, then suddenly had a flash of inspiration. "Wait? You mean possession?" Deng Kai laughed. "No wonder he'll become a legend. This bald guy is something else." Guardiola launched into a long explanation. "Ronaldinho's style is flamboyant, his footwork is superb, and he possesses a combination of ball control, technique, speed, and imagination. But the more impressive he is, the harder it is for him to pass the ball to someone else as soon as he receives it. It's not that he's selfish, but with his individual ability, he can indeed complete many one-on-one duels. From his perspective, he doesn't lose possession, he creates threats, and he can even score directly. That's a successful attack. But from a broader perspective, his prolonged possession turns multiple threatening opportunities into a single one, indirectly strengthening the opponent's defense and lowering the team's attacking success rate. Even if he manages to raise the attacking success rate again through his individual ability, the team's lack of subsequent variations is a huge loss. A pass from a skilled dribbler in a difficult situation has a 5% chance of being a superb pass, but a greater chance is a bad one." Deng Kai nodded in agreement. A promising young man indeed. Deng Kai and Guardiola left the cafeteria and went to the lounge to get a go board. If Ronaldo goes to the right wing, his inside cuts will be useless. His effectiveness will be less than half of what it is on the left. He can definitely practice crossing on the right, playing as a traditional winger or wide midfielder. I also believe he can eventually develop into the world's best right midfielder. But the problem is time. To be equally sharp on the right wing, Ronaldo needs at least 2 years. But this year, we should achieve something in the Champions League. I'm not satisfied with just qualifying from the group stage." Guardiola nodded. Even setting the Champions League quarterfinals as the goal of winning the UEFA Cup would be reasonable. If this team weren't so young, some would believe they could even reach the semifinals. Deng Kai, while Ronaldinho didn't play to his full potential on the right wing, it wouldn't have been difficult for him to perform at 80% of his level. Furthermore, because the right wing offers more space to create opportunities for crossing, the defense he faces isn't too strong, and there's often only one defender. After getting past his opponent, he has excellent conditions for crossing, which forces him to do so. Guardiola felt he had touched upon some deeper tactical aspects. Is this using tactics to limit and guide players? Many fans can actually see some of the players' problems. Zidane would certainly have more accolades if he weren't so temperamental. Ronaldo's career would certainly have been stronger if he hadn't been injured. So-and-so doesn't shoot recklessly, so-and-so doesn't dribble recklessly, so-and-so is willing to pass. There are too many shortcomings that could have been remedied. But this kind of thinking is too simplistic. People are very difficult to change. Even a small change is extremely difficult. No one can change them. Many people never experience a complete change of heart in their lifetime. But circumstances are more powerful than people. Circumstances can mold a player into the shape the coach wants. Ronaldinho is a right-footed player, and naturally, he's better at getting to the byline on the right wing than cutting inside. Even if he has a strong desire to cut inside, the ratio of cutting inside to going to the byline is at most 40-60, with going to the byline still being the majority. After going to the byline, he might then use a few more opportunities to cut into the penalty area from the byline, maintaining at least a 50% chance of crossing. That's more than enough. Because of his dribbling ability, he'll definitely go to the byline more times than other players. Similarly, Ronaldinho, who frequently crosses, doesn't actually occupy much time with the ball, unknowingly giving up some possession. So this right winger position is indispensable for Ronaldinho. He can't avoid it. Basically, he's a top-tier version of Quaresma. He seems to dominate the team's attack, but in reality, it depends on whether Deng Kai passes him the ball and whether Deng Kai passes to him from the byline or cuts inside. As for Ronaldo, because Deng Kai has been guiding the attack from the beginning, his off-the-ball ability is quite excellent, allowing him to flexibly switch between cutting inside, crossing from the byline, and off the ball. Considering the quality of Deng Kai's passes, Ronaldo in the latter two styles also doesn't occupy much possession. In the left winger position, he's a true triple threat, the team's strongest scorer and point. Guardiola started the game again, realizing he couldn't beat Kaká at Gamoku. What about Kaká? It seems the team's condition for signing him was a starting position. Yes, he'll play right midfield, I'll play left midfield, and you'll play defensive midfield. Deng Kai directly told Guardiola one of the team's two regular formations, the 4-3-3. Ronaldo, Drogba, Ronaldinho. Deng Kai, Guardiola, Kaká, Evra, Vidic, Barzagli, Macon, Schmeichel. The main midfield substitutes are Mythos, Pepe, Yaya Touré, Deschamps, Veloso, and Paulo Bento, listed in order of preference. The main defensive substitutes are Pepe, Wu Zedong, Font, Veloso, and Mythos, listed in order of preference. The main attacking substitutes are Ibrahimovic, Kaká, João Pinto, Wu Zedong, and Font, listed in order of preference. Guardiola pondered for a moment. You've always played as a right midfielder or right attacking midfielder. Why are you moving from the right to the left? You should know that Kaká is also a left winger. This makes it seem like you're deliberately trying to steal my position. Chapter 407 Champions League Group Stage, Portuguese Super Cup. Deng Kai twirled his finger. If Ronaldinho replaced Quaresma, many people would also think Kaká replaced Viana, but that's not actually the case. Viana is essentially a central midfielder. Quaresma, they are rotary players. Their lateral dribbling and spinning breakthroughs are much stronger than their vertical dribbling, which is a soft breakthrough. Part of the reason is that their absolute speed isn't fast enough. Ronaldinho is also this type of player. Although Ronaldinho's absolute speed isn't slow, using speed to beat others would make him feel ashamed. And Ronaldo is a typical vertical breakthrough player. Speed is key, simple yet unsolvable. Guardiola extrapolated, Ronaldo players working together slow down the pace. Speedster players working together encroach on each other's space, and the defense becomes completely open. So, a rotary player paired with a speedster is the most suitable. Deng Kai looked at Guardiola. I can see you have some complaints about speedster players. Just because you can't be fast yourself, you can't stand fast players? Guardiola gave an awkward smile. But Kaká, isn't he a speed player? He's a Brazilian player, and his playing style is quite Samba-like, but his dribbling and ball control are far inferior to Ronaldinho's. He's like a low-level spinner. Deng Kai looked at Kaká practicing on the training field outside and said, that's because he's still pretending. Guardiola, pretending? Deng Kai, yes, pretending. Pretending to be a traditional Brazilian player, pretending to be what everyone imagines a Brazilian player should be like. He doesn't know how he should play. But I know. In August, with a group stage draw for this year's Champions League, fans could once again freely imagine the highest honor in European football clubs. Sporting Lisbon's luck was, to say the least, terrible. They were drawn into the group of death. The least well-known team in this group was Galatasaray, an absolute powerhouse in the Turkish Super League. According to UEFA's European League rankings, the Turkish Super League was ranked 11th, not a particularly strong league. Compared to the Portuguese Super League's 6th place in Europe, it was considerably weaker. But if you underestimate this team because of this, you would be making a big mistake. If Manchester United's treble win of the 1998-1999 season, the Champions League, Premier League, and FA Cup, is the most memorable, then Sporting Lisbon's 2000-2001 season's UEFA Cup, Portuguese League, and Portuguese Cup is the most unexpected. And in between, there's another treble winner, Galatasaray, who in the 1999-2000 season also achieved a mini treble, winning the UEFA Cup, Turkish Super League, and Domestic Cup. From their perspective, they are a team no less formidable than Sporting Lisbon. Last year, although they only won one title, the impact they had was no less significant than their treble-winning season. They reached the Champions League quarterfinals. Furthermore, before the season even began, They defeated then Champions League champions Real Madrid to win the UEFA Super Cup. Therefore, they are definitely a formidable team, even more difficult to beat than the top teams in the 5 major leagues. Of course, this is just the easiest opponent Sporting Lisbon has faced in this group. The second formidable opponent is PSV Eindhoven, one of the 3 giants of the Eredivisie, and arguably the most dominant force in recent years. They've won the Eredivisie title for 2 consecutive years, slightly stronger than Sporting Lisbon in the Portuguese league. They possess extensive Champions League experience, and their defensive specialist, Mark van Bommel, and their newly acquired successor to Ruud van Nistelrooy, Matthias Kezman, are both incredibly strong players. Kezman reportedly scored a hat-trick in his first training match after joining the club, impressing his teammates. At this point, both teams are stronger than Sporting Lisbon, given their long absence from the Champions League. If this isn't hopeless, then the last team truly is. At least Cristiano Ronaldo is hopeless. Remember what Ronaldo said during the transfer window. He considered Lazio a super team. Now, this super team is on his list of opponents. The team with the overwhelming probability of advancing from this group is none other than the Italian Biancacelesti, Lazio. This is a group of death, targeting Sporting Lisbon, Galatasaray, and PSV Eindhoven. The latter 3 teams, with similar strength, can only compete for one qualifying spot, which is quite cruel. Mendieta, Crespo, Inzaghi, Salas, Simeone, Poborski, Stankovic, Stam, Nesta, Mihajlovic, Peruzzi, such a luxurious lineup. This is a super lineup that could win the Serie A title, the Champions League title, and the Italian Cup. If the skies over Europe turned blue this season, no one would be surprised. This is Lazio right now. Interestingly, they also brought in a player from São Caetano in Brazil this season, nicknamed Kaiser. Immediately, the media is already considering the second group stage for Lazio. At this time, the Champions League format is still quite unique. Last year, the Champions League expanded, with 32 teams competing in the group stage, and the top 2 advancing to the round of 16. Then the 16 teams were regrouped into groups of 4, with the top 2 advancing to the quarterfinals. So there were 2 stages of the group stage. But some teams are calling for the cancellation of the second group stage, making the round of 16 a knockout tournament, thus reducing the number of matches by 4 and lessening the burden on the teams. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, the second group stage of the 2003-2004 season will be cancelled, replaced by the knockout stage format of the Champions League that is now widely known. This also shows the prestige of the future Champions League champion. In an era with fewer matches, Ronaldo repeatedly broke records for goals in a single Champions League season, which is of course due to the rise of attacking football. Cristiano Ronaldo? Cristiano Ronaldo, so you're saying it has nothing to do with me, right? How classic. First came Lazio, then came Galatasaray's treble was before Sporting Lisbon. The Dutch and Portuguese leagues are similar, but PSV Eindhoven's position is more secure than Sporting Lisbon's. Mendieta, looking forward to another clash with Guardiola, and also wanting to experience the brilliance of Mythos and Deschamps. Crespo, I do have a problem with the Portuguese league, they stole my European Golden Boot. Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm just a European Bronze Boot winner, the one who stole your Golden Boot is Jardel, go get revenge on Porto and the Brazilian national team. Van Bommel, I can freeze Duncan, but limiting Ronaldinho is a higher priority. Kezman, there are rumors that Ronaldo didn't go to Manchester United because they signed Van Nistelrooy. In my opinion, Manchester United made the right decision. Duncan, when I heard Van Bommel's name, I thought he was an attacking midfielder because the only young Dutch midfielders I remember are Sneijder and Van der Vaart. Duncan, Kezman is Van Nistelrooy's successor, and Ronaldo is Van Nistelrooy's competitor. It's obvious who's stronger. Duncan engaged in heated debates on social media. However, Sporting Lisbon doesn't have time to respond to everyone. Because they are facing a real tough battle. They are fighting for their 4th trophy for the still unfinished season. The Portuguese Super Cup. Sporting Lisbon vs Porto. Porto's mission is only one thing, to stop Sporting Lisbon's miracle from getting worse. Although they have long been part of this miracle, their role has been less than honorable, they were just pitiful background figures. This time, they want to become the protagonists of the Portuguese league again. Chapter 408 The Triple Crown King is dead, a madman emerges. Porto's confidence stems from their peak form this season. Midway through last season, Porto sacked their head coach due to a confluence of factors including team performance, internal atmosphere, and management infighting. They then poached Jose Mario dos Santos Mourinho Felix, who had led relegation-threatened Leiria to 5th place in the league. Fans affectionately refer to him as Mourinho. Mourinho's coaching style is quite forceful, which contributed to the further collapse of the team's atmosphere towards the end of last season. However, after the management unified its structure, he received strong support this summer. Of course, this also placed immense pressure on him. If he couldn't lead the team to victories against Sporting Lisbon, Benfica, and Boavista early in the season, and if he couldn't secure a significant trophy later, he had no chance of staying in his position until next season. Under this immense pressure, Mourinho entered a frenzied state. He was willing to do anything to win and keep his players in top form. For example, to boost the confidence of Porto players, Mourinho made some outrageous remarks in the newspaper Bora, which immediately made headlines across major European media outlets. Mourinho, the treble is dead. Because I brought Porto, this Sporting Lisbon team is no longer the treble-winning team, they can do nothing but beat Chinese teams. Mourinho, the UEFA Cup is nothing special, it's just a loser's league. If Porto played this kind of competition, they could win. Mourinho, in my opinion, Duncan is not a good player, he's pitifully weak, but his weaknesses haven't been discovered by others. Mourinho, Ronaldo made inappropriate comments about us last season. Perhaps it's a problem with his upbringing. He's a delinquent, not well educated. The media outlets used every possible combination of the name Mourinho. Even if they couldn't remember the coach's name, they loved the buzz and media attention he generated. They genuinely hoped Mourinho could lead Porto to victory against Sporting Lisbon, thus ensuring a longer career in football and preventing a lack of storylines after Deng Kai's departure. Only Deng Kai truly remembered his coach and emphasized his abilities to the media, stating that he was a talented coach not far behind Maxi Marquez. Considering that the public might not easily remember the seemingly unremarkable name Mourinho, Deng Kai gave this eccentric Porto manager a memorable nickname, the Special One. Hello everyone, you are now watching the pre-match preparation program for the Portuguese Super Cup. The Porto Special One has emerged, declaring the treble-winning season dead, sparking controversy. Today is the day he fulfills his promise. Mourinho has the confidence to say this, because this summer they retained their two core players, Deco and Jardel, while also bringing in stars like Koscielny, Ferreira, Carvalho, and Valenti, significantly upgrading their squad. As for Sporting Lisbon, they are fielding a 4-3-3 formation today. So far, they don't seem to have fully found a way to integrate their various players, resulting in a rather inconsistent performance. Porto's starting lineup is Jardel, Postiga, Deco, Alenichev, Koscielny, Manish, Valenti, Carvalho, Costa, Ferreira, Bahia. This is a 4-3-1-2 formation, with a balance of defense and attack. Porto's youth academy star Almeida is on the bench, ready to come off the bench at any time. He's a national team teammate of Duncan and Ronaldo. Sporting Lisbon's lineup is Cristiano Ronaldo, Drogba, Ronaldinho, Duncan, Guardiola, Kaká, Evra, Vidic, Barzagli, Macon, Schmeichel. This lineup actually reflects Sporting Lisbon's strategy for this match. They didn't treat it as a must-win game, they wanted to find the most suitable players and formation through the game. The starting lineup of new signings like Evra, Vidic, Macon, Kaká, and Ronaldinho proves this point. Otherwise, even if Methalis and Deschamps are too old, and Touré, Veloso, and Wu Zedong, all new signings, don't play, Pepe should at least start. As a versatile player in Sporting Lisbon's defense, Pepe can perform relatively well in various positions. He's definitely better than Evra at left back. Evra? Whistle. With the sound of the whistle, the match officially began. Sporting Lisbon lacked familiarity with the game, while Porto also had many new signings who needed to adapt. The first 10 minutes were rather chaotic. In the 18th minute, Ronaldinho made several cuts inside from the right wing before being fouled, creating a free kick in a distant position. From his individual perspective, his performance was quite good. However, after he dribbled past the first player, Deng Kai had already moved forward to the edge of the penalty area, creating space for a long-range shot. Ronaldo had also already made his offside trap and dropped back, then volleyed into the far post on the left side of the penalty area. Ronaldinho undoubtedly delayed the opportunity. In the 22nd minute, Ronaldinho passed a ball to Kaká on the same side and then made a forward run. Kaká, Without controlling the ball, played a 1-2 pass, and Ronaldinho successfully reached the byline on the wing. This simple combination was something Brazilian players could execute without any communication or familiarity. However, Ronaldinho, having reached the byline, continued his run towards the penalty area, chipping the ball to the on-rushing Kaká before Valente could reach it. He then went around behind Kaká, who backheeled the ball to Ronaldinho's path. Samba football, silky smooth. Ronaldinho, positioned near the 6-yard box on the right side, unleashed a beautiful right-footed Rabona, completing a shot from a tight angle. Although Bahia ultimately saved the ball, there's no denying that the two Brazilians displayed incredible skill. They completely outmaneuvered Drogba and Ronaldo, who were also calling for the ball in the penalty area. The stadium erupted in applause, a testament to Ronaldinho's talent. Guardiola, near the midfield line, frowned slightly. This is probably not what the club envisioned. The club's move from right midfield to left midfield was intended to create a composite formation on the left flank with Ronaldo plus Duncan, a speedster plus a dribbler, and on the right flank with Ronaldinho plus Kaká, a dribbler plus his speedster. The team would achieve central symmetry on both sides, allowing for endless variations. Now, Duncan and Ronaldo on the left flank are like this, but Ronaldinho and Kaká are clearly not. Due to plot requirements, the timelines of some characters have been altered. Mourinho took over Porto a year earlier. Chapter 409 Kai Xiao Zhi Luo, the beginning of happiness. Kaká plays a rotor-like style, not a speed-focused style. Ronaldinho is even worse, practically a super rotor. His play is too delicate, severely hindering the team's progress. Following Sporting Lisbon's style last season, in evenly matched situations, they could attempt 5 or 6 threatening attacks in 20 minutes. Now, only 2, neither resulting in a goal. The quality hasn't improved, and the number of attacks has decreased. That's a sign of weakness. Guardiola is curious to see what Duncan would do. Would he reprimand Ronaldinho? This is something every key player tries when the team is out of their control, but in the early stages of team integration, this approach can easily sow bad seeds for a negative team atmosphere. This is a switch sides? Guardiola was somewhat surprised. Duncan had actually switched sides with Kaká. What was he going to do? Guardiola, call me. Macon, pass the ball to me as much as possible, slow down the pace. Kaká, try to create threats on the left, pass the ball to me from the rest of the way, I'll go centrally, okay? Drogba, understand? Duncan's communication yielded responses from his teammates. Ronaldinho was unknowingly dismantled by the team. In the following minutes, his time with the ball decreased significantly. No, it was practically non-existent. His connection with Duncan became a one-way street. If Duncan didn't pass him the ball, he almost never received it. Even when Ronaldinho actively called for the ball, his teammates always passed it to Duncan first. Guardiola smirked in the backfield. Good grief. Ronaldinho wasn't playing according to the tactics. Kaká couldn't handle him, so Duncan personally went to deal with him. But would Tragura and Maxija allow Duncan to do this? During this period, Sporting Lisbon didn't launch any attacks at all. The pace was very slow, completely contradicting the team's requirement for quick passing. On the sidelines, Maxi nodded repeatedly, that damn organizational ability is just too strong. Look at Sporting Lisbon's fluid passing in the midfield and backfield, so unhurried and confident. I feel like even when Deco faced him last season, he wasn't this calm. Yaya Toure and Reina listened with trepidation. They knew that if they played like that for their team, they would be ridiculed by fans as safety masters, criticized by the media for passive play, and berated by the coach for delaying opportunities. In contrast, Tragura was much more principled. Taking a break is a good thing. If you want to deliver a powerful punch, you have to pull back your fist first. Kai's greatest strength isn't his technical ability to be a metronome. It's his mental fortitude to be a metronome. He doesn't care what others think of him. Yes, Deng Kai didn't care that Ronaldinho was watching him with envy and resentment. Envious of his freedom on the field, jealous of his teammates passing him the ball, and resentful that he didn't pass to him. 29th minute. Bang! Just as many were dozing off, Deng Kai suddenly accelerated past Alenichev. Facing Alenichev's hasty tackle, Deng Kai executed a Marseille's turn, speeding past him with deadly intent. Middle. Defense. Everyone moved to the middle. Porto's alarm bells rang, Mourinho anxiously yelling, urging his players to defend the center. Ronaldinho began to accelerate and kept calling for the ball. He realized his opportunity had arrived. Bang! Deng Kai's professionalism was undeniable. He was there to help Ronaldinho, not punish him. Of course, he was willing to pass the ball to Ronaldinho. However, oops, Deng Kai's pass was too long. Many fans immediately noticed a mistake in this passing combination. Ronaldinho was cutting inside, but Deng Kai's pass was aimed at the byline. This MMP. Ronaldinho cursed under his breath, turning and running frantically down the wing to chase the ball. He was dissatisfied with Deng Kai's fixed thinking. How could a midfielder assume that a right winger could only go down the byline? You play a through ball, I cut inside, and after receiving the ball and getting past one player, I have a shooting opportunity. Getting past another player basically means I'm one-on-one with the goalkeeper inside the penalty area. If I can get past the goalkeeper too, I could practically dance in front of the goal. Bang! After Ronaldinho caught up with the ball, his teammates were already in position inside the penalty area. Porto's defense was also mostly in position, so he could only cross. The more imaginative the idea, the less realistic the reality. Bang! Drogba leaped high and headed the ball towards the goal. However, under Carvalho's influence, the shot went high and posed little threat. In Ronaldinho's view, this was a bland attack, lacking any dazzling short passes or exciting dribbling moves, simply disappointing. However, according to professional statistics, this attack, from Deng Kai's initiation to Drogba's shot, involved only 2 passes and took just 7 seconds. Compared to Ronaldinho's average attacks that take 2 minutes and might be repeated 2 or 3 times, the excitement was less, but the thrill was just as intense. 34th minute. Vidic edged out European Golden Boot winner Jardel for a crucial clearance. The ball then fell to Deng Kai, who spotted Ronaldinho in a good position and passed it directly to him. Ronaldinho, fearing a cross from the byline, didn't cut inside early. Sure enough, the ball went down the byline again. This time, Ronaldinho caught up with the ball, but Valenti was very close, trying to physically push him out of bounds. Ronaldinho chipped the ball from the byline, outmaneuvering Valenti and passing it back to Deng Kai. Then he charged into the penalty area. This was the second time he'd made such a stunning play in the match. The last time was with Kaká, culminating in a Rabona shot, this time. Bang! Before Ronaldinho even entered the penalty area, Deng Kai met the ball with a first-time cross. Drogba leaped high in the center, drawing all the attention in the Porto penalty area. But he couldn't reach the ball. The ball had a wide arc. If Bahia had been positioned further forward, he could have easily caught it. But earlier, Bahia, wary of Drogba, positioned himself deeper, preparing to intercept Drogba's header instead of clearing the ball before Drogba could reach it, thus missing a golden opportunity. Bang! Sure enough, Ronaldo appeared at the far post, pouncing on the ball and slotting it home. Goal. Cristiano Ronaldo. Goal. 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 1-0. An assist from Duncan. This is the CD connection. They're on a rampage towards the European quadruple. Duncan and Ronaldo dealt Marino a heavy blow. They used their assist and goal to tell Porto who the boss of Portugal is. Ronaldinho mechanically jogged towards Ronaldo, feeling that today's commentary was truly toxic. Duncan had just clearly used his assist to tell the Brazilians who the boss of Sporting Lisbon was, right? They dealt a heavy blow to the out-of-control Ronaldinho. Especially that Ronaldo. Goal. Goal. Do you think you're a machine gun, all the do? Don't you know my name, Ronaldinho, also has Ronaldo in it? Who are you mocking? By the time Ronaldinho arrived at the celebration, before he could even feel embarrassed, Deng Kai grabbed him by the neck. Beautiful pass. That was a brilliant play. Ronaldinho was completely bewildered. Wow. I was brilliant? I hadn't even started to show off before you passed the ball away. If you passed me the ball like Kaká, I could have dribbled all the way down the goal line from right to left, passing the goal 3 times without scoring. Deng Kai, no. I've seen Lukaku, Sterling, Lautaro, and Nunez 20 years from now. Although you all belong to the happy football school, you, the founder, truly brought joy to the fans, while your successors brought them bittersweet joy. Chapter 410 Marino vs Ronaldo. In the 41st minute, Ronaldinho, realizing his opportunities to have the ball had greatly diminished, began to actively drop back to midfield, demanding possession. He wasn't malicious. This is a common and effective tactic for strikers when they can't get the ball. He wasn't a lone striker, He could come back whenever he wanted. Deng Kai also coordinated with Ronaldinho, and the two exchanged positions. Guardiola, seizing the momentary lapse in concentration in the defense during the exchange, precisely passed a ball to Ronaldinho. Facing Guardiola with his back to the goal, Ronaldinho swung his leg to the nearby Deng Kai and then turned to make a forward run. He instantly beat Castinha. As he ran, he looked towards Deng Kai, waiting for a through ball. Holy crap! Where's Deng Kai's ball? Where's the ball at Deng Kai's feet? Was it stolen? That was too fast. Wait. Why do I feel a chill on my head? Could that be the gust of wind from the ball flying over my head? The ball was. Ronaldinho turned around and saw Drogba, who had a one-on-one opportunity inside the penalty area, rushing forward to head the ball towards the goal. Bang! Drogba didn't miss the chance this time, scoring his first goal in the Portuguese Super Cup. Goal. Drogba. A very easy header. Deng Kai's pass was too fast. While everyone's thoughts were still on the midfield, he almost sent a ball directly into the goal. Of course, Ronaldinho also played an important role. His forward run attracted Porto's centre-back, and Drogba took advantage of that moment to create a one-on-one opportunity. After a personal skill show in the opening 20 minutes, Ronaldinho showed more of his abilities by integrating into the team. He can go solo, and he can also create scoring opportunities. So far, he has created 2 threatening attacks and also delivered 2 penultimate passes. 2-0. With the chemistry between Ronaldinho and Deng Kai, Sporting Lisbon is getting closer and closer to their 4th championship trophy this year. Ronaldinho smiled wryly. What kind of chemistry is this? If he still can't react by now, he's not playing joyful football, he's just playing for fun. Deng Kai is clearly using his playing rhythm to overshadow Ronaldinho's. He's isolating Ronaldinho using his team status and position on the field. He's limiting Ronaldinho to the wing and the byline area with his passing. He's excluding Ronaldinho from the core of the attack with quick passes. If this were Ronaldinho's team, it would be Deng Kai's rhythm that's being overshadowed. But this is Deng Kai's team, so... Ronaldinho finally stopped laughing. He understood Deng Kai's arrangement and stopped trying to show off, actively suppressing his football instincts to some extent. Deng Kai was quite satisfied with Ronaldinho's subtle changes. He wasn't trying to bully or mistreat Ronaldinho. He knew, of course, that players need to follow their instincts and nature to play their best football. But that didn't mean a player's playing style couldn't be changed at all. Nobody's perfect, even the strongest player needs adjustments. If you raise him solely based on a child's happiness, then even if he ends up in prison in the future, it wouldn't be surprising. Ronaldinho? Ronaldinho, I feel like someone's subtly criticizing me. The score remained unchanged, and the game went into halftime. Mourinho went to the locker room early, probably to unleash his fury. On Sporting Lisbon's side, Trigueiro didn't say much, everything was progressing on the right track. However, Maximo cooked a pot of chicken soup and distributed it to everyone, making the young lads in the team's blood boil, wishing they could kill themselves to cheer for the Saint Sam. The second half began. Porto's defensive quality improved significantly, and their defense was full of aggression. This was exactly what Mourinho excelled at. In the 50th minute, Castillo passed a ball to Ferreira, who dribbled and chipped it to Manish. The young Manish advanced, exploiting the space behind Evra who had run too high. Guardiola had no choice but to foul, receiving a yellow card and giving the opponent a free kick in a good position. Evra, previously a midfielder forward, currently has a poor sense of position in the backfield and frequently loses his place. With Deco's stunning free kick goal, Porto pulled one back, bringing the game back into suspense. In the 55th minute, Evra and Ronaldo both took off from the left flank, and Ferreira fouled Duncan. The referee blew his whistle, awarding Sporting Lisbon a free kick from a distance, but did not show a yellow card. Ronaldo complained, feeling it was unfair, as Guardiola had just given a card. He felt Ferreira should also receive one, as their fouls were 90% similar. However, Mourinho's voice came from beside him, "Get up, you bad kid who loves to dive. Why don't you go to the Portuguese diving team? You could win a gold medal at the Olympics." "What the hell did you say? I dived?" Ronaldo got up and charged at Mourinho. "Don't think I didn't hear you talking about Ferreira. You said to break his leg. Make him unable to run anymore. You're a complete scumbag. How can you teach your players like this?" Mourinho didn't back down, exchanging a close-range shout with Ronaldo, "You have to be tough on players like you who like to use tricks. Don't you know how much you gained from these hand-waving, elbow-raising, and diving moves in this game? Your first goal was a foul and should have been disallowed. My players told me in the locker room that when you rushed in to shoot, you kicked Costa's foot first. Neither side would give an inch, and it eventually escalated to head-to-head. The Porto substitutes immediately rushed over. Sporting Lisbon were equally unwilling to back down. Ultimately, both sides managed to control their own players. The referee intervened, giving both Ronaldo and Mourinho yellow cards. After the conflict, Guardiola shook his head and returned to his seat, clearly disliking Mourinho as a manager. It wasn't about Mourinho ordering Ferreira to break Ronaldo's leg. That's a misunderstanding of Mourinho's aggressive style. He simply wanted his players to be tougher and more aggressive in defense. Ferreira understood this. If Mourinho truly intended to use dirty tricks, he wouldn't have shouted it out so loudly. Guardiola's dislike for Mourinho stems from the coach's tendency to influence players through off-field factors. He manipulated the players' mentality at the Sporting Lisbon stadium, resulting in Ronaldo receiving an extra yellow card. Guardiola firmly believes that top managers only need to achieve victory through tactical and personnel adjustments during match time and on the field. Mourinho's adjustments to Porto during halftime were very successful. He could have earned Guardiola's respect, but he gave it up himself. Chapter 411 is DK, not KD. But Mourinho's actions were quickly punished. Or rather, his control over his team needed improvement, and his players didn't understand him well enough. The conflict between Mourinho and Ronaldo even affected their players' on-field performance. During Duncan's free kick preparation, frequent clashes occurred between attacking and defending players on the edge of Porto's penalty area, prompting the referee to blow his whistle multiple times to mediate. This caused the defenders to lose focus or concentrate too much on certain players. Bang! Duncan took a tactical free kick, something the overconfident Porto hadn't anticipated. Guardiola delivered a 45-degree cross from beside Duncan, sending the ball into the penalty area. Drogba, Ronaldo, Kaká, and others were tightly marked. But Vidic, a tall player, was left unmarked. Bang! Vidic headed the ball without even jumping. The powerful header sent the ball directly into the goal. Vidic was ecstatic. His move from a relatively unknown league to Sporting Lisbon had been met with much skepticism. But now, this current Yugoslavian, future Serbian and Montenegrin, and Serbian has finally proven himself. Like Stankovic, who plays for Inter Milan, he is one of the few players in world football to have played for 3 different national teams. Only their national team predecessor, Savo Milosevic, surpasses them in this regard. Milosevic played for the pre-dissolution Yugoslavian national team, while Vidic and Stankovic initially played for the post-dissolution Yugoslavian national team. 3-1. Sporting Lisbon has extended its lead again. Now the question is Mourinho's. How will he handle this situation? Substitution. Mourinho is making substitutions. He's used up all his substitutions. Mourinho has made 3 substitutions. This is center forward Almeida replacing midfielder Lenichev. Jardel, Postiga. This is a 3-striker formation. Porto is going all out. Meanwhile, Sporting Lisbon also made substitutions. It was clear that Trigueira felt the team still had room for improvement, which is why he made substitutions despite being leading. Pepe replaced Kaká. This substitution undoubtedly indicated Trigueira's dissatisfaction with Kaká's performance in the first half. Kaká's presence was weak, and he seemed somewhat aimless when in possession. This wasn't to say his footwork was bad, but rather that he lacked clear purpose when on the ball. His forward runs were hesitant and indecisive, his lateral dribbling was meaningless, and his passes were often used when he had the opportunity to shoot from a distance. Pepe, on the other hand, is a player who primarily plays between defensive midfield and centre-back, and his introduction signaled Sporting Lisbon's shift from attack to defense. Sporting Lisbon wanted to maintain their 3-1 lead until the end. And then there was another player. Ibrahimovic replaced Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho expressed his confusion about the substitution, but he didn't dare to object or show it too obviously. Trigueira patted him on the shoulder a little more to ease his mind. Meanwhile, Maxi was giving Kaká a pep talk, reminding him that the Saints' brilliance had never faded. Ronaldinho felt he hadn't played to his full potential, and in fact, he wouldn't have been satisfied even if he had played the full 90 minutes. However, Coach Sarcelo had already made arrangements for this. Kai had instructed him that Ronaldinho and Kaká were extremely useful to the team this season, and if used well, they would be very strong immediate contributors. He needed to take good care of them, especially psychologically. So, as soon as Ronaldinho sat down, the team doctor rushed over and gave him a thorough checkup. Porto's defense was very aggressive today, and Ronaldinho had fallen to the ground several times during the match. Out of concern for Kai, or rather, out of responsibility for Ronaldinho's health, Sarcello arranged this emergency medical checkup. This warmed Ronaldinho's heart. So Coach Sarcello was worried about me getting injured? Truly a world-class coach, this caution alone is enough to defeat many arrogant people. While thinking this, Ronaldinho glanced at the number 10 player, Deng Kai, on the field. Ronaldinho was actually envious of that jersey. Not just the number 10, but also the requirements for the name printing on the back. Most players would certainly want their full name printed on their jerseys. However, because the full names of players from Brazil, Argentina, and Portugal are often too long, they often have to use abbreviations. They might even choose a stage name completely unrelated to their real name, Pepe, Kaká, Gomez, Ronaldinho. It's already incredibly difficult for someone like Cristiano Ronaldo to retain his favorite name, Ronaldo. However, Deng Kai received a privilege that most players envy and would likely willingly relinquish. Deng Kai's jersey reads Deng Kai. Fan Zi's Crystal Palace jersey says Fan. Sun Jae's European jersey says Sun. The future Dong Fangzhou's Manchester United jersey says Dong. So far, only Deng Kai has written his full name, and not just Kai Deng, but Deng Kai. Honestly, Ronaldinho initially thought Deng Kai's jersey was printed incorrectly and went to point it out, hoping to use this to build rapport. He did manage to do so, but the jersey wasn't printed incorrectly. Deng Kai stated that it was his request. Ronaldinho was puzzled at the time, but then, fans will think your surname is Kai, not Deng. Except for people from China, the Korean Peninsula, Japan, Vietnam, Mongolia, and Hungary, whose surnames come first. Most surnames in the world come last. Deng Kai smiled and asked, "Then let me ask you, what is my surname?" Ronaldinho, "Of course, it's Deng." Deng Kai nodded, "That's settled then. I prefer people to call me Deng Kai, not Kai Deng." Ronaldinho, "But fans won't know that, they." Ronaldinho didn't understand then, but after this match, he did. Deng Kai's choice of his name on his jersey revealed his character and qualities. He had his principles and was willing to work hard for them, no matter what obstacles he encountered. He wasn't worried at all that fans would get his surname wrong, because as long as he was strong enough people in the world would actively learn about, remember, and even admire his name, surname, experiences, and so on. Ronaldinho was pulled back to reality by Max's call. The kind Max gently said to him, "Listen to me, I value you highly, and you will definitely achieve more success than you can imagine at Sporting Lisbon. But all of this has one condition, which is, don't become an obstacle on Kai's path to victory." Ronaldinho trembled, and his buck teeth unconsciously retracted. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 412. The Triple Crown King is indeed dead, because, on the field, Deng Kai was, of course, unaware of Ronaldinho's inner thoughts. To be fair, regarding the printing of his name, he initially just didn't want to be simply referred to as KD. KD is indeed imposing. But KD sounds rather childish. And Kevin Durant is practically the worst of the worst. Cristiano Ronaldo, so I'll call you Duck. Hello, little duck. In the 80th minute, Mourinho's unusual three-striker formation proved surprisingly effective. The three strikers disrupted Sporting Lisbon's defensive formation. Koscielny played a through ball, and Deco, after entering the penalty area, was brought down by Pepe. A penalty. Jardel then converted the penalty, making it 2-3, once again closing the gap on Sporting Lisbon. Many commented that Pepe's defense was too rough. His actions in the penalty area were questionable, conceding a penalty. But Trigueiro on the sidelines understood that the problem actually lay with left-back Evra. Evra had been overly aggressive in the first half, frequently pushing forward. In the second half, facing the onslaught of three center-forwards, Evra's stamina faltered, turning him into a liability. Pepe had to cover for him, naturally creating openings. Therefore, Pepe was essentially taking the blame for Evra. On the other side, while Macon also possessed a strong attacking spirit, He was relatively restrained due to his new arrival and lack of understanding of the situation. Moreover, frankly speaking, there's only one ball in a football match. Ronaldinho essentially controlled possession on the right flank, leaving Macon powerless to push forward. After conceding this goal, Sporting Lisbon used their last substitution. Wu Zedong replaced Evra. When Evra came off, Trigura, as usual, high-fived him, but Maxa remained indifferent, offering no words of comfort. It wasn't that he had a problem with Evra. Mainly, after Deco won a penalty, Deng Kai, failing to catch up, angrily slammed his fist on the ground. "My God! You managed to turn my infallible strategist Director Kai into helpless Babel. Evra, you're guilty. You've broken a cardinal rule, do you know that? Before Kai deals with you, I must draw a clear line between us, lest Kai misunderstands. Coach Maxa, did I play too poorly in this match?" Evra was a studious young man. He knew he still had many shortcomings in this new position, so he asked questions and thought deeply. Maxa kept his eyes down, completely ignoring Evra. Evra felt ashamed. Coach Maxa is acting like he didn't hear me. Is he telling me not to see it, to forget my poor performance, to pretend I didn't see it? Don't have any mental burden. To play lightly, to dare to fight and struggle. On the field, Porto retrieved the ball from their goal early, urging Sporting Lisbon to take the kickoff. They even thought Wu Zedong was too slow when he came on, was wasting time. Wu Zedong was speechless. You might not know that the three fastest players on this team are Macon, Ronaldo, and me, right? I'll show you later that sometimes stalling for time is a good thing for you. The whistle blows, Sporting Lisbon kicks off. Ronaldo and Ibrahimovic in the center, Wu Zedong on the left, and Macon on the right, a four-pronged attack. Deng Kai receives the ball and passes it back to Guardiola. Guardiola passes across to Pepe, who passes back to Deng Kai. Deng Kai turns to face the on-rushing Deco, dodging his tackle with a quick pull and a flick, getting past him. Deco pulls at Deng Kai from behind, aggressively. At the same time, Manish also rushes in. Deng Kai turns to protect the ball, spinning twice under the pressure of two defenders. A backheel flick. A bung-boo spin. The most expensive little top. Bang! Under the pressure of two defenders, the 1.78-meter-tall Deng Kai withstands the pressure and delivers a through ball, tearing apart Porto's still developing defense. Cristiano Ronaldo received the ball on the left flank and advanced, not giving Koscielny a chance to catch up. After breaking into the penalty area, he selflessly passed a ball to Ibrahimovic. To be honest, Ibrahimovic was a bit confused. The key point is that Ronaldo never passes the ball before. Why did he pass it to me when he could have done it himself? It's like asking for trouble. Ibrahimovic wasn't prepared enough and his first touch was a bit heavy. By the time he caught up with the ball, Carvalho was behind him, and with Bahia making a timely run, Ibrahimovic's shot hit Bahia, and the ball bounced towards the edge of the penalty area. Koscielny immediately turned to chase back, but Wu Zedong, who is already positioned on the left and moving inwards, arrived faster. Because the ball had some height, Wu Zedong didn't break to wait for the ball after rushing over. Instead, he jumped up and flicked the ball in midair, like an eagle laying an egg, or a nimble footwork, separating it instantly. The ball, affected by his movement, changed direction and force upon landing, rolling towards the standard attacking midfield position 5 meters directly in front of the edge of the penalty area. With two light flicks, it was incredibly smooth. Bang! Deng Kai, who had immediately continued his forward run after the pass, was perfectly positioned, using his speed to unleash a long-range shot, a perfect connection with Wu Zedong's pass. Whoosh! The ball rose from the ground, its trajectory suddenly ascending in the latter part, yet remaining within the goal area. The ball's speed was unbelievable. At this moment, Seedorf, Schweinsteiger, Eusebio, and Jardel were all channeling their inner heroes. Deng Kai wasn't fighting alone. One could even say that Jardel's Watts Ronaldo effect and Seedorf's cruise missile launcher were the cream of the crop. Jardel? Swish! The ball created a white spray, tearing the net and making it creak. The entire stadium fell silent. Then, a roar of cheers erupted. Goal! Deng Kai! This is Deng Kai. This is the leader of Sporting Lisbon. This is the three-time MVP of the Portuguese Cup, the Portuguese Super League, and the UEFA Cup. No more. Porto is gone. They're out of time. The Portuguese Super Cup belongs to Sporting Lisbon. Deng Kai's goal directly secured the victory for the team. As Sporting Lisbon is about to win their 4th trophy of the year, I want to remind everyone. At this moment, Deng Kai, who scored the goal for the team, is also about to win his 4th MVP award of the year. I can't say he's the best player in the world this year, he may still have a long way to go to achieve that honor. But I dare say now that he is the best player in Portugal this year. In the shot, Deng Kai rushes towards the corner flag, leaps high, and spins 180 degrees in midair, like a god descending to earth. The entire stadium chants his signature celebration words with him, "Siuuuuuu." Similarly, the camera also focuses on the madman Mourinho. His face is deathly pale. In this match, he tried everything. But he truly lost without any resistance. If the game had been played entirely according to Ronaldinho's style, Mourinho was confident he could have dragged it into extra time or won outright. But the game's tempo belonged to Deng Kai. Sporting Lisbon had far too many attacking opportunities, and in terms of the quality of those opportunities and their ability to capitalize on them, even with last year's European Golden Boot winner, Porto could hardly match Sporting Lisbon's roster of top scorers and assist leaders, including Deng Kai, Cristiano Ronaldo, Drogba, Ibrahimovic, and Ronaldinho. Ultimately, the score was 4-2. Sporting Lisbon defeated Porto, winning another Portuguese Super Cup in their history. In the post-match man of the match interview, Deng Kai responded to Mourinho's earlier interview, "Actually, I think everyone misunderstood Mourinho. Some of what he said was actually correct, such as the treble this year is indeed no longer possible. Because we are now quadruple winners." Chapter 413 The establishment of the Fawn cult, the fall of the four-crown king. The quadruple crown emerges. Sporting Lisbon continues to renew club history miracles. The king's long-range shot. Deng Kai scores 1 goal and assists, winning the tournament's best player award for the 4th time this year. Unique in Europe. The king's hammer on the grass. Team concedes penalty, Deng Kai angrily slams the grass. 2 minutes later, a long-range shot scores the goal. DK reigns supreme. Mourinho explains conflict with Ronaldo, falling is football, diving is not. Ronaldo angrily criticizes Mourinho after the match. A person who teaches players to break others' legs doesn't deserve to be a coach. Deco scores, wins penalty but can't save the day. Porto hands Sporting Lisbon their 4th title of the year. The king's mockery. The treble winners have fallen, because we are quadruple winners. With the arrival of the quadruple crown, all eyes in Europe are focused on Sporting Lisbon. In the past, the Portuguese Super Cup was nothing. Later football literature creators, when searching for information about the tournament format, participants, and match times, only found information about the Portuguese Super Cup or the European Super Cup. In comparison, the Super Cups of the 3 major leagues, Serie A, La Liga, and the Premier League, are slightly more important. The English domestic Super Cup is called the Community Shield. Not long ago, Liverpool, the FA Cup winners from last season, defeated Manchester United, the Premier League champions who had acquired the expensive new signing of one Sebastian Veron, to win their 3rd trophy of the year. However, they cannot be called treble winners. A treble generally refers to winning the Champions League, the league title, and a domestic cup. A smaller treble includes the UEFA Cup, the league title, and a domestic cup. There's also the cup champion who wins the Champions League or the UEFA Cup plus a domestic cup. If we had to give the FA Cup, UEFA Cup, and Community Shield a name, perhaps we could call them treble winners of less important competitions. They've won everything except the most important titles. FA Cup, I advise you to be more discerning, I still have a high level of prestige. Therefore, Liverpool fans aren't really happy, because if they had defeated Sporting Lisbon last season to win the UEFA Cup, they would be the current quadruple winners. Even if they defeat last season's Champions League winners Bayern Munich in just half a month, they will be 5-time champions. The only 5-time champions in 30 years. The second 5-time champions in European football history. Liverpool's disappointment was quickly noticed by the media. They were also shocked. Everyone thought that winning the UEFA Cup was Sporting Lisbon's most incredible performance, but they didn't expect the miracle to continue. Once these young players defeat Bayern Munich, what will happen? In an instant, headlines flooded the media again. Treble? Quadruple? No, quintuple. Sporting Lisbon is just one step away from making history, just one step away from beating Bayern Munich. Sporting Lisbon is a good team, but still a long way from the high level of the Champions League. Beckenbauer, I'm happy to see Duncan, who is called my successor, become one of the best young players this year, but Sporting Lisbon is not Bayern's hypothetical enemy. Con, I will show everyone the irrationality of the European Golden Boot award system. Because I will save all the shots of last season's European Bronze Boot winner. Bayern Munich responded appropriately to the rumors, stating that Sporting Lisbon's 5-trophy haul was pure fantasy. Sporting Lisbon shouldn't have engaged in verbal sparring with such a powerhouse, as they clearly couldn't win. Moreover, after their European Super Cup match, Sporting Lisbon was likely to be the one to be proven wrong. However, Deng Kai never misses an opportunity to generate buzz. His name has spread throughout the world of football in just 3 years, and it's not solely due to his ability. 3 years ago, many moderately famous players like Sek, Robben, Torres, Iniesta, Van Persie, Lom, and Schweinsteiger are still relatively unknown. It's good enough that they haven't faded into obscurity. Only Deng Kai, at a youth academy age, has garnered the attention and popularity of top-tier players. Deng Kai, without a doubt, Bayern is a Champions League winning team. We are still some distance from them, we are merely a European Super Cup winning team. Deng Kai, I'm happy to be noticed by Beckenbauer because I'm a fan of his. Bayern Munich isn't really Sporting Lisbon's hypothetical rival, as their squad is aging and getting weaker every year. We young players should naturally aim for the top teams, like Juventus, Manchester United, Real Madrid. Con should pray he gets scored on by Ronaldo, because if he gets scored on by someone else, like a player of Font's caliber, the value of the Champions League Best Goalkeeper award will be greatly reduced. As one of only 2 players named in these highly popular comments, Font is honored. Young Master Con is indeed loyal, never forgetting to promote me, young Font. Following young Master Con is the best decision I've ever made. I've decided to establish the Font cult, with the unwavering support of young Master Con as its guiding principle. Considering Kai's ancestral origins and cultural preferences, Font adapted the traditional doctrines into regulated verse with strong Eastern literary influences, reciting a poem in the fan community, "Don't rush to join my sect, first raise the banner for Kai." The king of football trophy still stands, but Maradona and Pelé are nowhere to be seen. Figo's knife lacks luster, Ronaldo is always absent. Zidane of France is half a step short, only Kai can ascend the throne. To Font's surprise, the poem caused a surge in new members. Fans from all over the world made Font realize the sheer size of this group. He began to understand that not everyone was qualified to be Kai's fan, so he strictly controlled the entry qualifications for the fan group. Many more ordinary fans joined his newly established peripheral organization, the Deng Kai Global Fan Club. Thus, Deng Kai became the first football star in the world to have a global fan club. However, the organization faced a severe test immediately upon its establishment. On August 12, the new Portuguese league season officially began. In the first round of the league, Sporting Lisbon faced Porto again. The clash between these 2 powerhouses yielded a result vastly different from the Portuguese Super Cup. Ronaldinho and Kaká were completely lost in this match. Cristiano Ronaldo missed a one-on-one chance, squandering his opportunity to be the team's hero. Most importantly, Kai surprisingly missed a penalty. In the final moments, Porto striker Postiga delivered a divine performance, unleashing a powerful shot amidst 3 defenders to seal the victory for Sporting Lisbon and give his team a winning start to the season. After the goal, Moreno's performance was even more frenzied than Postiga's. He threw off his suit jacket, rushed to the corner flag, and shouted into the cameras, "I declare the quadruple champions fallen. The Porto era has arrived." The Estadio do Dragão erupted in celebration. The cry of the quadruple champions have fallen resounded throughout Europe. Chapter 414 The Mansart Consortium makes its move, young Master Kai creates a flexible suspension system. On August 18, in the second round of the Portuguese Primeira Liga, Sporting Lisbon suffered another setback, being held to a draw at home by Belenenses. Their league position has thus stabilized outside the top 10 headlines included, Sporting Lisbon, 1 draw, 1 loss. Where did the problem Lisbon go? Poor signing. Sporting Lisbon fails to replicate last year's high-flying signings. This year's acquisitions are mediocre, except for Ronaldinho. The entire Sporting Lisbon team is in a slump. Has the quadruple crown exhausted the player's passion? Ronaldo misses a one-on-one, Duncan misses a penalty, Guardiola is soft, 4 million? Midfield invisible Kaká isn't worth $1 million, impotent rage? Duncan slams the grass in the last 2 matches, teammates afraid to approach, and 5-crown win is a nonsense. Bayern Munich has the UEFA Super Cup in hand. Sporting Lisbon's performance has led many to favor Bayern Munich. Over 92% of fans believe Bayern will defeat Sporting Lisbon and lift the trophy. However, news of some changes to the match quickly spread. One such change was the stadium. Since 1998, the UEFA Super Cup had been held at the Stade Louis II. This stadium is the home ground of the French Ligue 1 team, AS Monaco, and the Monaco national football team. Located on reclaimed land, it is relatively small and has many space constraints. Its underground parking garage is even located directly beneath the pitch. Among Europe's well-known stadiums, the Stade Louis II is considered very small, with a capacity of only 18,500 spectators. Even with temporary additions, the capacity is unlikely to exceed 25,000. This was sufficient in the past because the UEFA Super Cup wasn't considered a major honor, and it was only held once a year, lacking continuity. But this year is different. While most people favor Bayern Munich in this year's UEFA Super Cup, the biggest draw has nothing to do with Bayern at all. It's not even about a feud between Matthäus and Bayern's team doctor and teammates. It's that if Sporting Lisbon wins, they will become the first team in 30 years to win 5 titles. Second only to Ajax under Cruyff in 1972. According to UEFA data, at least 50,000 fans are certain to pay to attend the match. Another 100,000 fans have expressed interest, meaning at least 20,000 to 30,000 more could be converted into attendees. The ticket revenue generated by this match is comparable to last season's UEFA Cup final and surpasses the level of last season's Champions League quarterfinal. Can you believe it? If the stadium could only seat 2 people, how much would they lose? UEFA immediately sought to solve this problem by choosing a new stadium. The Manchester Consortium, which had already officially initiated its acquisition of Manchester City Football Club, played a crucial role, facilitating extensive communication between UEFA and Manchester City and financially satisfying both sides' needs. Ultimately, this year's UEFA Super Cup venue was changed from the Louis II Stadium to Manchester City's home ground, Main Road. This stadium can accommodate over 80,000 fans, making it the second largest stadium in England after Wembley, known as the Wembley of the North. This event resonated deeply with Manchester City fans. Before the emergence of future Abu Dhabi and Qatari consortiums, the financial requirements for football club owners were relatively low. The Manchester Consortium was already considered quite wealthy for English fans. Of course, there are many club owners in England with more money than the Manchester Consortium. But in terms of investment, they are far less than Manchester. Manchester's performance in stadium operations this time shows a willingness to invest heavily in the team. He even gives the impression of being an English Moratti, which is very likely to win over fans. Furthermore, Manchester has privately revealed that if he takes over Manchester City, he will push forward the construction of a new stadium within 2 years of the acquisition. This would be a huge boost to the local economy, employment, brand awareness, team reputation, and squad strength. Therefore, it seems that the Manchester Consortium's acquisition of Manchester City is progressing smoothly. Perhaps only one final push is needed to bring this matter to a successful conclusion. However, the outside world is generally pessimistic about the Manchester Consortium's acquisition, as Manchester City has already suffered 2 consecutive defeats in League One. They don't look like a team that played in the Premier League last season at all. If Manchester's acquisition goes through, they'll probably still be playing in League One next season. Their current offer is already significantly higher than Manchester City's value. They'll lose money. One problem after another. After resolving the stadium issue, UEFA immediately encountered a second problem. The Manchester Consortium, which had solved the stadium issue, made a small request. With the match approaching, the Manchester Consortium wanted certain key players from Sporting Lisbon to be present. This was partly for ticket sales, and partly due to Manchester's personal preference. He was a fan of one of Sporting Lisbon's players. UEFA officials, having received so much money from Manchester, were already friends. How could they refuse such a small request? They readily agreed, then went back and found the player Manchester requested, Deng Kai. In last season's UEFA Cup semi-final, during Sporting Lisbon vs Barcelona, Deng Kai received a red card and, due to his egregious behavior, was given an additional 3-match ban. However, following Sporting Lisbon's appeal, Deng Kai was ultimately allowed to appear on the pitch in the UEFA Cup final, leading his team to victory over Liverpool and winning the treble. The reason given at the time was that Deng Kai was under 16 years old, and for the protection of minors, any punishment would only take effect after he turned 16. Now, Deng Kai is 16 years and 19 days old. The UEFA Super Cup is also a UEFA competition, so theoretically, Deng Kai should be banned. This is indeed a problem. But money must be spent, and UEFA quickly came up with a solution through a meeting. They implemented some reforms and explorations for this year's UEFA Super Cup, aiming to present fans with the most exciting matches. These reforms and explorations included choosing larger stadiums to allow more fans to see the games, expanding the types of broadcast media, such as giving preferential treatment to online new media like Donkey, increasing the number of slots for traditional broadcast media to broaden international influence, increasing sponsor channels and giving more sponsors opportunities, and temporarily relaxing disciplinary regulations. As everyone knows, fewer words mean more important content. The later something is listed, the more crucial it often is. Regarding the final provision, the temporary relaxation of disciplinary regulations, some media outlets conducted a thorough investigation and discovered its flaws. Without altering the nature of the European Super Cup, suspensions for both teams' players, coaching staff, and fans banned from the stadium are all granted temporary amnesty. What does this mean? It means that suspended players like Deng Kai, Pepe, and Maxi can all participate. Immediately, German media cried foul. Bild publicly criticized UEFA for creating a flexible suspension system for Deng Kai, arguing that it undermines UEFA's credibility. Chapter 415. What other requests do RNME have? Feel free to make them. However, Donkey, a popular sports betting platform, believes that this exploration maximizes the viewing experience for fans, allowing them to witness the peak performance of both teams at their full strength. They even call for other single-elimination tournaments like the European Super Cup to adopt this system. Zhang Yunzhu, in her Donkey column, provides an in-depth analysis. It's normal for tournaments with multiple rounds to accumulate red and yellow cards. This tests a team's long-term competitiveness and squad depth. It can foster more diverse tactics, creating suspense where winning early doesn't guarantee victory, and losing early doesn't necessarily mean defeat. However, the Super Cup itself is only one match, and as a highly anticipated opening game of the season, it shouldn't be an incomplete competition. To give various Super Cups a more important status, generate more economic value, and have more players value their competitive worth, it should be developed into an all-star event. Because of the unique nature of football, it's difficult to organize a true all-star game. Therefore, the Super Cup should be given even more importance by all football associations. New media versus authoritative media. Media with an Eastern background versus the dominant German media. The final result was unexpected. Over 95% of fans supported the opinion of Donkey, a popular sports betting website. Including German fans and Bayern Munich fans, at least 80% believe that players from teams participating in the Super Cup should not be affected by bans. People could accept a player's ban from the Super Cup extending to European or domestic competitions, but they couldn't accept a ban from European or domestic competitions extending to the Super Cup. Ultimately, Donkey's proposal was entirely from the fan's perspective. No fan doesn't want to see the most exciting matches. Perhaps in the Champions League final, both sides' extreme fans hope the other team is eliminated. But if even the Super Cup can't bring 100% joy, then football is far too rigid. Of course, the support of German and Bayern Munich fans for this reform was based on the premise that they never imagined Sporting Lisbon, currently struggling to win a league match, could defeat them. August 24, Manchester, Main Road Stadium. The European Super Cup was about to kick off. Both teams' players appeared on the field early to warm up. When they arrived in Manchester, they had already felt the enthusiasm of the English fans. They knew the formations and players of both teams like the back of their hand. Bayern Munich fielded a 4-4-2 formation. The two strikers were Bayern's sword, Giovanni Elber, and the Andean bomber, Claudio Pizarro. The midfielders included Jeremies, Effenberg, Scholl, and Salahomidzik. The defenders were Lizarazu, Selno, Robert Kovac, and Kuffer. The goalkeeper was Oliver Kahn. Robert Kovac joined Bayern this season, along with his older brother Niko Kovac. The latter will become the head coach of the Croatian national team, Eintracht Frankfurt, Bayern Munich, Monaco, and Wolfsburg in the future. Sporting Lisbon, on the other hand, used their previous 4-3-3 formation. Cristiano Ronaldo, Drogba, Ronaldinho, Duncan, Guardiola, Matos, Evra, Vidic, Barzagli, Macon, Schmeichel, and Funk served as bench warmers, responsible for leading the atmosphere on the substitutes bench. Among them, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, and Drogba are affectionately known as the Three Ronaldos by fans. Matos replacing Kaká in the starting lineup was a prediction made by many media outlets before the match. Kaká's recent performances have been lackluster. The opponent was Matos's former club, with a history between the two sides. Without him on the field, what would the media write about? With a whistle, the match officially began. From the start, the atmosphere was tense. Matos was the instigator, immediately engaging in a fierce challenge with Effenberg. It was clear that Matos had a strong grudge against this tiger. However, Effenberg and Lizarazu also retaliated against their opponents. Lizarazu defeated the flamboyant Ronaldinho. Effenberg then knocked down Deng Kai, who was trying to shield him with his back turned. Deng Kai, MMP. Oh. Deng Kai angrily pounded the turf. He's actually wronged. Matos started it, but he has to bear the consequences. I have to say, Effenberg is bullying him a bit. In the stands, Bayern fans even laughed. They were mocking Deng Kai's impotent rage. What kind of skill is pounding the turf? If you're so capable, knock Effenberg down too. If you're so capable, score a goal. After getting up, Deng Kai walked towards the attacking third, and the turf pounded by Babel was successfully activated. Guardiola took the free kick from the backfield. Matos received the ball and immediately passed it to Ronaldinho, who had dropped back to receive it. A large part of Kaká's poor performance was because he wasn't sure whether he should pass the ball to Ronaldinho. He could feel Deng Kai's restriction on Ronaldinho. But Matos was different. Even at his age, Matos still had freedom on the field. The key is his on-field awareness. His passes are definitely well-reasoned and of an excellent level. If even little Kai criticizes him for this, then old man Mar will really lose his temper. Believe it or not, he'll retire on the spot. Bayern Munich clearly studied Sporting Lisbon's recent matches. They didn't expect Matos to pass to Ronaldinho. So, after receiving the ball, Ronaldinho turned and dribbled forward, completing a considerable distance. By the time Lizarazu reacted and covered, Ronaldinho had already cut inside. Effenberg tried to bump Ronaldinho from the side, but Ronaldinho used the nimble croquet move to avoid the impact and charged directly into the penalty area. Salinho rushed out to try and intercept. Ronaldinho, however, changed his cut into a run down the wing, steadily approaching the byline along the edge of the penalty area. Bang! Ronaldinho crosses. At the edge of the penalty area, Deng Kai's eyes lit up. His pressure and guidance had worked. It was a beautiful cross. Ronaldinho isn't inflexible, he's also adapting to Deng Kai's requirements. After all, this team is named after Deng Kai. Deng Kai? Ronaldinho, the name on the back of your jersey, Deng Kai. Font, he, Ronaldinho, please get out, you fake fanboy. Go copy my 7-character poem 10 more times. Bang! Drogba followed up with a leap, overpowering Kovac to complete a header. However, Khan lived up to his reputation as the Lion King, managing to save such a close-range header. His reaction in front of the goal was truly outrageous. Drogba personally believes that, in this one save alone, Khan is indeed better than Schmeichel. However, Bayern's crisis in front of the goal was not over. The ball bounced towards the penalty spot. Deng Kai was very close to the ball. However, Effenberg was also nearby. The two advanced while colliding with each other, each making some pushing motions with their hands. Considering that this was his own penalty area, Effenberg slightly held back 30% of his strength to avoid being called for a foul due to excessive force. However, he was very confident that 70% of his strength could completely overpower Deng Kai. Because he had already figured out Deng Kai's strength and weakness. Effenberg's body uncontrollably fell to the side. In his shut pupils, Deng Kai blocked with his right hand and pushed with his left, his whole body even making a half-jumping motion due to the excessive force. Effenberg was pushed away. Bang! Deng Kai's shot went to the left side of the goal. Khan, who had just fallen on the right side, rolled and scrambled on the ground, and before he could fully get up, he lunged to the left, but he was still at least half a meter away from the ball. In an instant, in the Bayern penalty area, the Tiger and the Lion King were both on the ground. Only the king of Bayern stood at the top of the penalty area, his golden spear unyielding. Deng Kai did not celebrate after scoring. He even immediately reached out to stop his teammates, such as Drogba and Ronaldinho, from coming over to celebrate with him. He raised his head and scanned the Bayern fans who had mocked him earlier. Although he did not speak, his eyes and aura said it all. Effenberg, I beat him. I scored. What else do you want? Make your demands. Chapter 416 Surrounding the Lion to save Kai. Goal. Deng Kai. Just 7 minutes into the game, Deng Kai has scored. Few fans could have predicted that Sporting Lisbon would be the first to score. Ronaldinho's brilliant dribbling and cross, Drogba's powerful header, this is the kind of attacking play Sporting Lisbon should be making. Kahn did everything he could, saving Drogba's header was already excellent. He couldn't make 2 world-class saves in such a short time. Effenberg is complaining, he thinks Deng Kai fouled. What did the referee say? No problem. The referee considers it a legitimate challenge. In fact, the replay shows that Deng Kai made some hand movements when he got past Effenberg. But the problem is that Effenberg initiated the challenge. Combined with his earlier collision with Deng Kai, the referee might suspect Effenberg of diving. Deng Kai responded to the Bayern fans' earlier mockery with a goal. It's the most perfect response in the world of football. Wait, no. Wasn't it Deng Kai's goal? It's Drogba. Duncan's follow-up shot hit Drogba's boot. It must have been an extremely subtle contact, the ball barely touched the sideline, practically invisible to the untrained eye. It's been corrected, it's confirmed to be Drogba's goal, but Duncan has earned an assist. Drogba is lucky, such a passive goal is incredibly rare. Soon, Bayern's players restarted the game. Bayern attempted a quick counter-attack to equalize after conceding. But Matthias clearly anticipated this, retreating to secure his position and denying Bayern's magician, Scholl, the opportunity for a through ball down the middle. Salihamidzic, nicknamed Angel Wings, dribbled down the wing, attempting a breakthrough. The future Di Maria. However, the unremarkable young Evra, with his tenacious spirit, managed to entangle Salihamidzic, followed by Vidic joining the siege and successfully intercepting the ball. Then Sporting Lisbon employed their long-range tactics, constantly wearing down Bayern's attacking enthusiasm and slowing the pace. 21st minute. Bayern launched an attack down the left flank. Lizarazu and Jeremies combined well, with Lizarazu attempting to outmaneuver Macon. However, Macon displayed astonishing speed. Evra struggled to defend the prime-age Salihamidzic, only able to desperately try to slow him down. But Macon showed no mercy to Lizarazu. He caught up, rammed past him, controlled the ball, held him off, and passed it out, all in one fluid motion, leaving Lizarazu utterly helpless. This is the difference between 33 and 20. Time is a cruel mistress, each cut slicing into Lizarazu's Achilles tendon. But Lizarazu needn't despair, for in the future, Macon will face the same fate. Once considered the world's best right-back, he was utterly outmatched by a Welsh monkey, and never recovered. Bang! Macon passed the ball to Barzagli, who found Guardiola. Seeing Duncan blocked, Guardiola simply passed to the well-positioned Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho, having already performed well, was given a temporary reprieve. At the same time, Cristiano Ronaldo suddenly started moving on the left. Deng Kai also shook off his defender and began to advance. Drogba ran to the right, receiving Ronaldinho's pass while slightly drawing away the center-back. An opportunity. Ronaldinho could have made a long pass to the far post to find Ronaldo, or a diagonal pass to Deng Kai in the middle, either would have created a threat. However, Ronaldinho feinted, a long samba dance, before his dribble was intercepted. The interception itself wasn't the problem. The key issue is that the feint was a huge waste of time. Not only Ronaldo and Drogba, but even Deng Kai, who started from near the center circle, was almost offside. Fortunately, Matthias, experienced as he was already lurking behind Ronaldinho. As soon as Ronaldinho lost possession, Matthias regained control and played a through ball. Deng Kai immediately continued his forward run, calling for the ball from Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho's passing move, a feint followed by a dribble. By the time he had beaten Lizarazu, Deng Kai was already marked by Salnho. Bang! Ronaldinho passed the ball across the box. Deng Kai was destined to miss. He was marked closely by Salno, the ball was too close to the goal, and Kahn had already rushed out. But Deng Kai couldn't afford not to run. Not running would make him seem unmotivated. Opportunities are earned through hard work, Players who don't fight hard won't earn the love of fans and teammates. That's the price of leadership. Khan first caught the ball in a kneeling position, then buried his head and body in it. Deng Kai was already charging forward, unable to break suddenly, only able to slow down. This situation is common. But Khan had just lost the ball to Deng Kai and was in a bad mood, so, the instant Deng Kai collided with him, Khan suddenly stood up. Deng Kai was almost thrown into the goal by a handless over-the-shoulder throw. This is similar to when one person takes off while contesting a high ball, and the other doesn't jump but deliberately crashes into the person in mid-air. But a goalkeeper can use this tactic more discreetly. It might even create a collision with a goalkeeper scenario for the opposing team. After landing, Deng Kai slapped the grass and got up. He charged forward and rammed his chest into Khan. Khan hadn't expected Deng Kai to be so audacious. He thought Deng Kai would stop in front of him. Caught off guard, Khan stumbled and staggered backward, but not thinking straight, he didn't fall. He managed to stand still after retreating more than 3 meters. Are you going to use karate? If you're interested in fighting, I can bring Ibrahimovic on right away. Deng Kai was quite angry. But to be fair, if he hadn't activated Babel with his slap, he might not have even been able to knock Khan down. Bayern's players immediately surrounded Deng Kai. But from an omniscient perspective, it was clear that from the moment Deng Kai angrily slapped the turf, the green dots representing Sporting Lisbon's players seemed to have been summoned, quickly converging on the penalty area. And their movement speed was much faster than the red dots. Sporting Lisbon's players arrived first, rushing into the penalty area and surrounding Khan and Salno at the scene of the incident, leaving them flanked. For a moment, Sporting Lisbon had the numerical advantage. The referee rushed around, blowing his whistle repeatedly. Fortunately, the two sides only maintained a standoff and didn't actually come to blows. The referee warned Duncan and Khan. Khan was primarily in the wrong, but Duncan's reaction was also indeed against the rules. Guardiola was unexpected. He actually ran from the back to the front and argued most fiercely with the Bayern players. But what kind of tactic is it to advance while retreating? Look at Drogba. Although he didn't say anything, he was standing next to Duncan. If a fight broke out, I think he'd be the first to throw a punch. Chapter 417. Deng Kai is biding his time? Ronaldo couldn't make it. He had a few words with Kuffer on the way. He seemed helpless against Kuffer's defense today. Khan's awkward stumble was the most important factor in preventing the conflict from escalating. If Deng Kai had really suffered, I reckon some Sporting Lisbon players would have attacked him. Yet, even Font on the sidelines was itching to do it. But honestly, Deng Kai's temper has clearly worsened this season. He especially likes to slap the turf. This might motivate his teammates, but it also leaves a bad impression. Some say he's become ruthless since dominating Sporting Lisbon, like Qin Shi Huang in Chinese history. That's why some call him Emperor Kai. 24th minute. Sporting Lisbon controlled the ball past midfield. Deng Kai made a forward run to the edge of the penalty area, a frequent midfield run tactic in Sporting Lisbon's game. But Guardiola didn't pass, because there were too many players around Deng Kai. Bang! After Deng Kai stopped, Guardiola suddenly played a through ball down the middle. Deng Kai had just finished his retreat, shaking off Scholl. Facing the ball with his back to the goal, Scholl was still behind him. He flicked the ball with his heel, slightly altering its trajectory. The ball rolled into the penalty area. Just as Deng Kai began his retreat, Sporting Lisbon's other midfielder, Matos, charged towards the penalty area. He didn't stop. His run was incredibly determined. So much so that after Deng Kai's run, the accelerated Matos completely outpaced the just-started Kovac, unleashing a powerful shot inside the penalty area. Whoosh! Matos's shot was undeniably accurate. Khan had absolutely no chance of saving such a shot. Goal. Another goal. Sporting Lisbon again. Deng Kai's backheel pass was beautiful. He created a threat in the middle of the crowd. A brace. Deng Kai is in excellent form today. He has demonstrated his role as the team's core player. If Guardiola's through ball is a blunt knife, then Deng Kai's backheel sharpens it into a bayonet, killing with a single blow. This is so dramatic, because the goal scorer is Matos. Matos has turned against his former club. Will he celebrate? He did. Sure enough, that's Matos's temperament. We could have imagined this day coming from the fans constantly chanting Matos's name to mock him after Bayern won the Champions League last season. That arrogant Ballon d'Or winner punished the disloyal fans. Oh, this. Matthäus ran around Effenberg a few times, raising his hands in celebration. He definitely did it on purpose. In the footage, Effenberg is furious and chases after Matthäus. However, Matthäus, who had circled him 3 times, had already run far away. But soon, Lizarazu joined the scramble to grab Matthäus, catching him. Matthäus broke free of Lizarazu's grasp and then shoved him. The entire pitch descended into chaos. With Kahn and Elber joining the fray, Bayern fans were momentarily disoriented. Wasn't this the scene that often unfolded in Bayern's training matches back in the day? Everything seemed to have returned to a few years ago, with the Hollywood of the pitch making a comeback, assaulting the memories of Bayern fans. It wasn't until the referee showed 3 yellow cards that everyone snapped out of their days. Matthäus, Effenberg, and Lizarazu each received a yellow card. It has to be said that Matthäus got off easy. This earned him hero treatment within the team. Because both Effenberg and Lizarazu had taken on a lot of defensive responsibilities, and their contributions to the Bayern team were far greater than Matthäus's contributions to Sporting Lisbon. Moreover, he managed a 1-for-2 trade. Matthäus. The subsequent match became fragmented due to these 2 consecutive clashes. The referee tightened his officiating. This wasn't a matter of inconsistent officiating, it was a temporary adjustment based on the situation on the field, which was the correct approach. During the boring parts of the match, the commentators inevitably had to talk about topics that interested the audience to keep viewers engaged. One commentator even discussed Deng Kai's grass-beating incident. Did everyone notice that both of Sporting Lisbon's goals today came within 5 minutes of Deng Kai's grass-beating celebration? And both goals were related to Deng Kai. Is there some kind of mysterious connection between grass-beating and assists? Could we interpret this as Deng Kai's self-motivational gesture? In fact, as you can probably see, Deng Kai didn't vent his emotions on anyone else while grass-beating. He didn't blame anyone, including Ronaldinho, whose passing rhythm is slower. He seemed to be competing with himself. Every grass-beating seemed to motivate him. I remember a Chinese idiom, sleeping on firewood and tasting gall, which probably describes Deng Kai's situation, lying on the brand new grass, savoring the loneliness of defeat. I suggest everyone pay close attention to Deng Kai's grass-beating gesture to see if my speculation is correct. If that's the case, I think this gesture will soon spread throughout the youth football training world. Because Deng Kai has already created a sensation among youth players. 80% of them say they've used this celebration after scoring a goal. 15% of youth players want to use it, but haven't scored yet. The remaining 5% of goalkeepers are in despair. Time was ticking away, and the first half was drawing to a close. In the 45th minute, Salihamidzic, the angel wing, broke down the wing, outpacing Deng Kai. Deng Kai's speed is decent for a midfielder, but compared to a true winger, he's simply outmatched. Especially since Salihamidzic added a change of pace, giving Deng Kai a slight chance to catch up before suddenly accelerating. Deng Kai tried to reach the ball but failed, completely losing his chance to mark Salihamidzic and nearly splitting himself. Luckily, he deliberately rolled to the side, avoiding the tragedy of his shorts being torn. After falling, Deng Kai slapped the grass, but unfortunately, he couldn't activate Babel. However, Salihamidzic's attack was ultimately thwarted by Vidic once again. In the 3rd minute of first-half stoppage time, many fans who believed the slapping the grass to motivate theory were focused on Deng Kai. According to the commentators' theory, Deng Kai was about to have a breakout performance. But Deng Kai, with the ball, was directly knocked aside by Lizarazu's tackle. Lizarazu, carrying the ball from the backfield, tried to head towards midfield. The commentator in front of the TV was disappointed. The fans were the same. They didn't know what they were expecting. If self-motivation and self-suggestion were really that effective, everyone could succeed, and there would be no losers. Wait a minute. Chapter 418. The football emperor ascends the throne, but this familiar plot. On the television screen, Deng Kai, who had fallen to the ground, used his hand to brace himself up from the grass, continuing his charge towards Lizarazu. Bisant. Effenberg signaled to Lizarazu. Lizarazu, thinking Effenberg was asking for the ball, slowed down slightly to pass to teammate. He could slow down, because the guy was probably still crawling on the ground. Bang! Deng Kai poked the ball away from Lizarazu from behind, and then brushed against him. Lizarazu stumbled. Deng Kai used the opportunity to control the ball, turn, and try to dribble past Lizarazu. Lizarazu immediately charged at Deng Kai, even if it was a foul, He couldn't let Deng Kai get past him. Bang! The two collided violently. The referee immediately put his whistle to his lips. Lizarazu's lateral charge was too obvious. If it weren't for the fact that this was near the halfway line and not near the penalty area, Lizarazu would have received his second yellow card. But soon, an unexpected event occurred. This collision had no losers. Deng Kai was prepared to be bumped, but the collision with Lizarazu actually sent Lizarazu flying. Deng Kai only swayed slightly. Lizarazu steadied himself and tried to lunge again to block Deng Kai. But with a thud, Deng Kai had already completed the pass. And it was a long pass. He saw inside the penalty area. Just when everyone thought Deng Kai would be knocked away, Sporting Lisbon's left winger, Cristiano Ronaldo, made a forward run. The instant Deng Kai completed the pass, Ronaldo was already the closest player to Kaká. Lizarazu's dribbling made Bayern think they could launch a counter-attack. Their players all moved forward, including right-back Kaká. One-on-one. This is a super one-on-one. How could Deng Kai see this opportunity? He was just knocked senseless. His mind should be a complete mess right now. Kaká comes out. He has to come out. Ronaldo is too fast. Kaká is now in a dilemma. Kaká gave up. He slowed down to prepare for a save. He's gambling that Ronaldo's first touch won't be solid enough. Bang! No control. After Kaká slowed down, Ronaldo also slowed down appropriately. Then, he volleyed the ball. Crazy. This move was insane. Did he even know what level of goalkeeper Kaká was? Did he even know what kind of glory it was to break through Bayern Munich's defense? Swish! The ball flew straight into the top corner of the goal. The wake even made the Lion King's golden hair stand on end. For Kaká, time seemed to stop at that moment. He looked into the eyes of the striker opposite him and saw himself in the blue goalkeeper's jersey. His face was filled with unprecedented fear and helplessness. Goal. After scoring, Ronaldo immediately turned and sprinted towards the corner flag, too excited to stop the ball in front of Kaká for even a second longer. It was as if the goalkeeper he had just pierced was an unknown figure. Kaká, sitting on the ground, watched Ronaldo's retreating figure. He had never imagined that a mere European Super Cup match, which wasn't even considered a major honor, could make him feel like he had conceded a goal in the Champions League final. Effenberg reached out and helped Kaká up, and Lizarazu also ran back dejectedly. Kaká suddenly said, "They're so young." They clearly referred to Duncan and Ronaldo. They were only 16 years old, the two youngest players on the field. Lizarazu nodded. Youth is damn good. Perhaps this year. Lizarazu's reputation and fame had reached the peak of his career, and might even surpass it next year and the year after. But he knew that since last year, his physical condition hadn't been at its best. His inability to even score against Duncan today further proved this. From now on, they will only get weaker. And the young players of Sporting Lisbon will get stronger. A burst of applause erupted. Sporting Lisbon fans, clad in their green and white jerseys, began to cheer wildly, their celebrations filling the entire main road stadium. Kaká and the others looked up at the scoreboard. It displayed the times of 3 consecutive goals. Following the times were the names of the scorers, Drogba, Matos, and Ronaldo. Following the scorers were the names of the assist providers, Duncan. Hat-trick of assists. Duncan is forever a god. The emperor ascends the throne. Kaiser. You have the first generation of football emperors. We have the second and third generation of football emperors. Beckenbauer. Matos. Duncan. The fans' voices were so loud that the players on the field could clearly hear them. The Sporting Lisbon players also rushed towards Duncan, celebrating the King's perfect ending to last season's matches. As the referee's whistle blew, everyone on the Sporting Lisbon bench rushed onto the field. They lifted Deng Kai up, tossing him into the air again and again. Font held a water jug above his head, tap water cascading down his head, paying homage to the beer-pouring celebration after winning the Bundesliga title, while shouting, "We are the champions," as if you were holding up the European Super Cup trophy instead of water. The stadium erupted in celebratory jubilation. Meanwhile, the Bayern players clenched their fists and hurried into the tunnel. At the back, Bayern's substitute midfielder Niko Kovac kindly reminded Font, "Brother, the game isn't over yet, this is only the first half." Font was stunned. This was only halfway through? Seeing Niko Kovac about to leave, Font quickly chased after him, saying, "But man, we're already 3 goals ahead at halftime. Isn't the game over yet?" Niko Kovac, you haven't forgotten Liverpool, have you? 3 months ago, in the UEFA Cup final, they were 3 goals ahead of you at halftime. Font slapped his forehead, turned, and ran off, shouting, "Red wine. Coach Maxi, please don't open the red wine." A glint flashed in Niko Kovac's eyes, and he immediately found his manager, Hitzfeld, and the two whispered to each other. As Niko Kovac explained, Hitzfeld's furrowed brow gradually relaxed. He patted Niko on the shoulder, indicating the boy's potential. "Niko, even if you don't play football anymore, you'll be an excellent head coach." Niko, flattered by his coach's praise, exclaimed, "Boss, can I play in the second half? I think the team needs adjustments, and I can contribute." Hitzfeld smiled. "Repeat what I just said." "Niko, I'll be an excellent head coach?" Hitzfeld, go a little further. "Niko, even if I don't play football anymore." Hitzfeld, it's a deal, you said it. Niko, WTF. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 419 Midfield Showdown, Champagne Curse, and Sacrificial Players. Halftime was about to end. Maxi opened the locker room door, gesturing for the players to return to the pitch. However, the next moment, everyone's expression changed. Because there was a bottle of champagne at the locker room door. Fuck. Maxi was furious. He had clearly returned the wine, so how, was it Bayern Munich? Those bastards. Maxi realized. They were cursed. How outrageous. Bayern, a prestigious club, actually wanted to become the next Sporting Lisbon? This was a blatant disrespect for the original. The Sporting Lisbon players all looked grim. They believed in the Sporting Lisbon miracle and the halftime locker room wine curse more than any other fan in the world. Because they were witnesses. Some things you'll never believe until you experience them. But once you experience them, you can't help but believe. Font, take it. Deng Kai said a few words to Font, then gestured for the players to follow him onto the field. Font was nervous and excited. Here it comes. Here it comes. The mission for Kai Xiao, no, for Kai Wang, has finally arrived. This signifies a further increase in Kai Wang's regard for him. So, at halftime, after both teams entered the field, Font suddenly rushed to the sideline, pressed his thumb against the open champagne bottle, and shook it violently. Then he slightly released his thumb. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Champagne shot skyward, spraying everywhere, like a spectacular fireworks display. The fans in the stadium were stunned. Is this an NBA All-Star exhibition game? Font is simply gone mad. Soon, the referee angrily showed Font a red card, sending him off the field. But Font, who climbed onto the stands, became a hero to the Sporting Lisbon fans. Of course, Bayern fans hated Font to death. Because Font was clearly celebrating Sporting Lisbon's victory. This was utterly disrespectful to Bayern. The Bayern players were also furious. They wanted to cause trouble for the Sporting Lisbon players, but Hitzfeld stopped them. As for the reason, of course, it was because Hitzfeld had arranged for that bottle of champagne to be placed at the entrance of Sporting Lisbon's locker room. But he didn't expect Sporting Lisbon to dare to turn the tables and boost the team's morale by sacrificing Font. Brilliant. There's a genius in this team. Hitzfeld looked at Maxija. Triguro was a proper academic coach, skilled at developing players and had some tactical knowledge. But this unconventional and ingenious move, unlike Font's brilliant ending, actually had a strong Maxija style. One word, play it safe. In the 62nd minute, Bayern, with everyone united in their hatred of the enemy, launched a crazy attack. Salahamidzic broke through on the wing and delivered a beautiful cross. Pizarro headed the ball on at the near post, and Elber outjumped Barzagli and volleyed a half-turn shot, sealing the victory, 1-3. Bayern began to catch up. Everyone inevitably thought of the story that happened in this year's UEFA Cup final. In the 72nd minute, Sporting Lisbon made a substitution. Kaká replaced goal-scorer Matheus. In the 79th minute, Sporting Lisbon made another substitution, replacing goal-scorer Drogba with Ibrahimovic. They were clearly wasting time. In the 85th minute, Sporting Lisbon used their third substitution, with young Yaya Touré replacing Ronaldinho. Touré, following Maxi's instructions, walked very slowly and received a yellow card immediately upon entering the game. However, this also angered Bayern, leading to a complaint to the referee, resulting in Pizarro also receiving a yellow card. With Touré replacing Ronaldinho, Sporting Lisbon's 4-3-3 formation changed to 4-4-2. In the 87th minute, Sporting Lisbon still couldn't stop Bayern's attack, and Effenberg had a long-range shot opportunity. Unfortunately, the ball hit the post. Deng Kai immediately clapped his hands, signaling his teammates to stay focused. Even if they got cards, they absolutely couldn't let Bayern score again. Bayern fans, who had hoped Bayern would become the next Sporting Lisbon, now hoped Bayern would become the next Manchester United. Because Manchester United had previously scored 2 goals in quick succession to reverse a match and win the trophy. Bayern players? Regular time ended, and the game entered stoppage time. 91 minutes. Effenberg and Deng Kai engaged in a fierce challenge. But unlike Effenberg, whose stamina was clearly declining, Deng Kai's condition was even better after the 80th minute. Effenberg initially thought it was his imagination, but after this challenge with Deng Kai, he realized that this kid's stamina was truly freakish. He even had more strength than in the first half. Deng Kai reached out to block Effenberg and used a backheel turn to advance. After 2 spins, Effenberg was now behind Deng Kai. Due to the surrounding players pulling him away, Deng Kai only had Effenberg as a defender. Bang! Deng Kai kicked the ball away, preparing to accelerate into the penalty area. Effenberg had no choice but to make a sliding tackle from behind, bringing Deng Kai down. The referee gave the winning signal. Deng Kai watched the ball slip out of his control, repeatedly slapping the turf as if to say that Effenberg's foul was practically a crime. Deng Kai slapped the ball many times, unable to activate it. The reason he didn't immediately get up to chase the ball, besides his ankle pain, was that someone was already in front of him. Ronaldo was engaged in a fierce race with Kuffer, both having a chance to reach the ball before Kahn. Kuffer was at his peak, one of the top right-backs of this era. Logically, he shouldn't have been unable to stop Ronaldo. However, Ronaldo was last season's European Bronze Boot winner, and if European goals were included, he should have been the European Golden Boot winner. Even with many unpredictable factors, such as the Portuguese league not being comparable to the Bundesliga, and the UEFA Cup not being comparable to the Champions League, a goal is a goal. Ronaldo accelerated twice, overtaking Kuffer by half a body length. Robert Kovac, rushing over from the other side, had no choice but to slide tackle. But his tackle was clearly less decisive than Effenberg's. Oh! The referee blew the whistle. Kovac made a mistake. Ronaldo fell in the penalty area. The Croatian's tackle wasn't decisive enough. He let Ronaldo into the box. Red card. The referee showed Kovac a red card. Yellow card. 2 yellows make a red card. Effenberg is also sent off. Penalty. This is a bad result for Bayern. Now, regardless of whether this penalty is scored or not, Sporting Lisbon will win this match. Deng Kai stepped up. He's going to take this penalty. Ronaldo handed the ball to Deng Kai and stood at the penalty spot protecting the turf, but it wasn't necessary. Except for Kahn, the other Bayern players had already given up. Deng Kai walked to the penalty spot. Having previously been pounding the turf, seemingly very angry about Effenberg's foul. Chapter 420 The 5-Crown King. Indeed, that should have been a brilliant individual performance. After shaking off Effenberg, Deng Kai could have taken a long-range shot with no one marking him after just 2 steps. It was practically a penalty kick. Deng Kai's his run-up, so fast, without any hesitation, a powerful shot. Goal. Deng Kai finally scored. 4-1. Deng Kai has killed the game. 1 goal and 3 assists. He's once again the man of the match. The referee didn't give Bayern any more time, he blew the final whistle. Let's congratulate Sporting Lisbon on winning their first ever European Super Cup. This is also the only Portuguese team to win this title in 15 years since Porto in 1987. Now, Sporting Lisbon has created a new miracle. Let's all shout their names. The entire stadium chanted together, 5-time champions. 5-time champions. 5-time champions. The match was exceptionally intense on the field. There were 3 on-field clashes, resulting in 3 red cards and 7 yellow cards. However, after the match, both teams showed considerable restraint and expressed their appreciation for each other. Kahn, Chris isn't the best young striker I've ever seen, but he's the most confident. And in terms of shooting, I think he has the potential to reach world class. Lizarazu, Ronaldinho is very talented, but Sporting Lisbon limited his potential. He's suited to a more stylish team. Macon is a good fullback, he can learn a lot at Bayern. Scholl, Deng Kai's passes are difficult to predict, his passing is top-notch. Salihamidzic, I admire Evra's tenacious spirit. Although he didn't cause me any trouble, he worked very hard. A team needs players like that who aren't particularly talented but work very hard. Even Effenberg, who clashed with Deng Kai and Methalis on the field several times, admitted, I'm not surprised Methalis scored. Although I don't like him, no one knows his ability better than me. He is indeed old, but he can still contribute to the team. That's why I'm angry that he left the team without a word in the middle of the season before last. He owes us a Champions League title. As for Duncan, although he's Beckenbauer's successor, I think he's more like a smaller version of Zidane. He's a player who always shines in big games, and like Zidane, he's full of mystique. Similarly, their appearances are extremely deceptive. Beneath their refined facades are not weak physiques, their physical talent has always been underestimated. Even Bayern Munich president Beckenbauer congratulated Duncan after the match. Duncan was clearly not the strongest player last season, but he was definitely the player with the most individual honors last season. He's lucky, this is a record that almost no player can achieve. He won every title and MVP in every competition he participated in. He was the undisputed most valuable player last season. The Bayern players swore that these assessments were made without any prior consultation. They lost, and should have harbored resentment towards Sporting Lisbon. But their opponent's performance made it impossible for them to smear them. Besides, to be honest, having already won the Champions League, they didn't really value the European Super Cup that much. However, they all regretted it after the interview. Considering Deng Kai's arrogant performance on the field, they were reluctant to imagine how he would evaluate them. Of course, it would be a dismissive and disdainful assessment. What else could it be? Deng Kai, Khan is undoubtedly one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Just with his eyes and aura, he can make most strikers falter. If it weren't for the penalty, I wouldn't have been able to break through his defense. Mathalis knows Khan too well, his goal is not surprising. Drogba's goal was full of luck. When fate wants Khan to concede, of course, Khan can't do anything about it. As I said before this match, as the player who should have had the most goals in Europe last season, Ronaldo is one of the few super strikers who can remain unaffected by Khan. Remember, he's not some nobody, he's a Golden Boot winner who scored 12 goals in a single UEFA Cup. If Manchester United were more diligent this summer, he would already be their main striker. The reporters were very satisfied with Deng Kai's answers. After beating Bayern Munich and calling out Manchester United, he's raked in tons of media attention. Reporter, so how would you rate Lizarazu today? Deng Kai, I'm not qualified to comment on such a great left back. I just hope that when I'm his age, I can have his form and achievements. That would be an honor for any player. Reporter, does beating Bayern give you more confidence for this season's Champions League? Deng Kai, we've always been confident. But it's hard to compare this match to a Champions League game. I've watched Bayern play in the Champions League, their dominance on the pitch is incredible. If we met Bayern in the Champions League, it would be difficult for us to achieve the same score as today. Bayern is a great team. Mathalis has told me many times that there are 3 teams he would never regret joining. Inter Milan, Bayern Munich, West Germany, and the German national team. Of course, I told him there would be a 4th team, that's Sporting Lisbon. Deng Kai used his high emotional intelligence to win the friendship of the Bayern players. Even though relations between the two sides were previously tense, many things in this world can be resolved. When there's no relationship, conflict becomes a topic of conversation. With so many conflicts, reconciliation became a hot topic. If Bayern had won, they might not have appreciated Deng Kai's gesture of friendship. But having lost, they had to accept it, whether they wanted to or not. They couldn't very well say that Deng Kai's angry slapping of the grass damaged the environment, thus disqualifying him from winning the championship, could they? However, since they accepted Deng Kai's peace signal, Bayern had to make some concessions. For example, praising Deng Kai, praising Sporting Lisbon, etc. In other words, mutual flattery. Later, when interviewed, reporters mentioned Deng Kai's words, triggering a wave of nostalgia for Mythos, causing his eyes to well up with tears. and ultimately leading to tears during the interview. Afterwards, Bayern's official website showed an intention to reconcile with Matthias, reposting the news of Sporting Lisbon's victory over Bayern to win the European Super Cup on their website, and congratulating Matthias on his goal. Suddenly, Matthias became a legendary player beloved by Bayern fans once again. His relationship with Bayern was finally not entirely acrimonious. After the interview, the European Super Cup awards ceremony officially began. It's worth mentioning that the guest presenting Deng Kai with the Best Player trophy was none other than Mansatter, a new good friend of the UEFA officials. After the award ceremony, Mansatter posed for a photo with Deng Kai and gave his acceptance speech. "It's an honor to present this award to Deng Kai, and I'm also very moved to see so many superstars at Main Road." In addition to the fans of both teams, there are also a large number of Manchester City fans here today. I believe that while watching this match, Manchester City fans will think, if only our team could qualify for the European Super Cup. It seems he's emerged from the shadow of the World Cup and rekindled his interest in football. His form is recovering. I'm asking for some monthly votes today. Chapter 421 Celebrity Effect. When Manchester City fans see these superstars, they think, if only our team could have these superstars. So here I promise. If I successfully acquire Manchester City Football Club, I will do my utmost to invest in and operate the team, bringing in 1, 2, 3, or even more superstars. It could be a superstar from a Champions League winning team. Mansatter pointed to Lizarazu, Effenberg, and others. It could be those superstars in red jerseys from the opposing team. Mansatter pointed towards Old Trafford. It could be the enduring heroes of Serie A, or the newly crowned legends of Real Madrid. Of course. It could also be a superstar from the only team in the last 30 years to win 5 titles. Mansatter finished speaking and patted Duncan on the shoulder. The next moment, a small portion of the Manchester City fans in the stadium cheered. Duncan! 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 They shouted the name of the player they most wanted. Seeing this reaction, Mansatter's hand trembled slightly. Because he knew, it was a done deal. Duncan was right. Mansatter had put so much effort into the acquisition, but encountered a huge problem with the fans. Some die-hard fan groups were unyielding and incredibly influential. Surprisingly, following Deng Kai's advice, a little effort was put into the European Super Cup, a completely different approach, and the problem was solved. It's almost unbelievable. But the feeling is incredibly satisfying. Conquering English fans is far more rewarding than conquering the sands in a luxury SUV. Of course, while Mansatter was happy, Beckenbauer shook his head discreetly. This Middle Eastern tycoon was still too young. Even if you really acquire Manchester City, can they get promoted this season? Even if they do, can you really sign superstars next season? It's difficult. Older superstars often return to their roots and rarely go to unfamiliar places. Matthias, Deschamps, and Guardiola's arrival at Sporting Lisbon was largely accidental. Matthias had long wanted to retire. Deschamps should have gone to Valencia. Guardiola wanted to join Baggio. What top superstars has Manchester City produced? And are they willing to return to contribute their remaining energy after their peak? What? You're talking about Duncan and Ronaldo? Haha. That's even more ridiculous. Manchester United already invited Ronaldo this summer. If Ronaldo doesn't maintain last season's form, even half of it, the top clubs in the 5 major leagues would be lining up for him. He'd basically be groomed as the next Henry or Trezeguet, entering a top club and having the opportunity to compete for a starting position, and for a considerable period, at least the first half of the season. This is far better than strikers who only get a few games or are always relegated to the bench. As for Duncan, if he hadn't announced he was staying early this year, there would have been more people vying for him than for Ronaldo. There are always promising strikers every year, but how many midfield wonders are there? Xavi, the big-eyed wonder Barcelona treasures, Van der Valk and Sneijder, whom Ajax is preparing to sell for a hefty price tag, Schweinsteiger, already training with Bayern Munich's first team, Gerrard, who has emerged this year with Liverpool, Lampard, who transferred from West Ham to Chelsea for a high price. These young midfield stars are all basically 2 to 3 years, or even 5 to 6 years, older than Deng Kai. They are considered gems by their respective fans. But in terms of honors and achievements, even if they play for another 3 to 5 years, it will be difficult for them to catch up with Deng Kai. This is only Deng Kai's first year of professional football. No matter how he plays this season, Next season many top clubs will definitely offer him contracts. Even if he were to break his leg now, a year later, a top-tier team would still be scrambling to sign him. After all, he is the core player of the only team in the last 30 years to win 5 trophies. He is also the only person in football history to win 5 different awards in the same year. This is an unforgettable record. This is Deng Kai at 15. A player like this, Manchester City? Dream on. Do you remember that year when Bayern Munich won the Champions League? Which year was that? That year, Real Madrid won La Liga. Which year are you talking about? That year, Manchester United dominated the Premier League. Which year was it exactly? That year, the 5-time champions emerged, sweeping across Europe. That's right, I'm talking about 2001, the summer when Liverpool Sporting Lisbon was crowned a 5-time champion, creating a football miracle. This is the chemical reaction that occurred after Sporting Lisbon defeated Bayern Munich. In most fields, the difference between first and second place is minimal. But people only remember the first place. Because those fields you dedicate your life to are just a small category in other people's conversations and impressions. People only need to remember one name. And the development that person brought to the industry may be more than the dozens of people after that combined. This is the celebrity effect. And in football, where dozens or even hundreds of championships are born every year, it's really hard for non-fans to remember who's the best. Unless you add a prefix. Real Madrid president Florentino Perez understood this. He only sought out superstars, aiming to build the most luxurious Galacticos in football history. Real Madrid's influence outside of football thus expanded rapidly. This external influence quickly reciprocated, bringing Real Madrid staggering revenue. Sporting Lisbon, by sheer chance, also gained a prefix, 5-time champions. The only team in football's 30-year history to achieve this feat. The team that swept the most trophies in a single year. So much so that when reporters interviewed non-football fans on the street, asking who the strongest team of the previous season was, most surprisingly said Sporting Lisbon. When reporters pressed them further, most didn't even know whether Sporting Lisbon belonged to Serie A, the Premier League, or La Liga. Some even answered Chinese Super League, but none mentioned the Portuguese league. When asked about the players on that team, they could only name one person, Deng Kai. The prestige of Sporting Lisbon and Deng Kai spread dramatically under this effect. To non-fans, they'd say, Brazil beat France in the 1998 World Cup because France fielded Zidane instead of Duncan, but the key point is, France won that year's World Cup. They'd also say, the only reason AC Milan missed out on the Champions League this year is Ronaldo's numerous injuries, preventing him from forming the perfect striker plus midfield combination with Duncan. Inter Milan president Moratti would be devastated to hear this. Even Bayern Munich and Manchester United couldn't escape the casual fan interpretation, Bayern lost Beckham. Which is the biggest reason they lost to Duncan's Manchester United. This is another victory for Duncan over Ferguson. P.S. Writing and updating simultaneously today, aiming for 5 updates, hope to achieve it. Chapter 422 The MVP stalwart, not a 5-time champion, but a 6-time champion. Font is insane. Deng Kai's global fan club has exploded. So many new fans have flooded in. Especially the beautiful female fans, all sorts of explicit photos are pouring in, and Font, who's been getting increasingly thin, can't take it anymore. Deng Kai's popularity was already exploding during this period. But Deng Kai, a popular sports website, wanted to add fuel to the fire. Deng Kai, 5-time champion? No. Call him a 6-time champion. The accompanying picture was a close-up shot of Deng Kai arrogantly gazing at Bayern fans after believing he had scored his first goal. Being handsome really does give you the freedom to do whatever you want. Every angle looks like a killer shot. Next to the headline was a subtitle, Sporting Lisbon isn't the first 5-time champion, but Deng Kai is the first 6-time champion plus 6-time MVP. The Portuguese Super League, the Portuguese Cup, the UEFA Cup, the FIFA U17 World Cup, the Portuguese Super Cup, the UEFA Super Cup, 6 titles, 6 MVP awards, 4 selections to the tournament's best XI, 2 assists titles, and 2 top scorers titles. His achievements in that year surpassed those of Ajax's dominance in Europe in 1972. As the first 5-time champion in European football history, people often say that if Ajax had had the opportunity to play that year, they would have won even more titles. But that's just a hypothetical. The beauty of football lies in its unpredictability. Anything can happen on the pitch. That was merely a wishful thinking and a description of Ajax's strength. However, today, Deng Kai has shown us what a true six-time champion looks like. You can't say that Sporting Lisbon today is greater than Ajax back then, because Ajax won the Champions League. But at least you should know that Deng Kai today is no less capable than the core players of that Ajax team. At least, we have reason to believe that one day Deng Kai truly has a chance to catch up with that Flying Dutchman, Johan Cruyff. Jang Yunzu's Prospo-in-like press release transported readers back to the early 1970s in European football, the era of Cruyff and Ajax. But even a player as great as Cruyff failed to lift 6 MVP trophies that summer. He didn't even manage half of them. The article even received a personal response from Cruyff. Whether Donkey Udi paid for it is another matter. Cruyff, I first heard this name because this kid rejected a trial invitation from Barcelona, thus becoming known as the derogatory football Kaiser. He was only about 10 years old then. But the first time I truly met him was 3 years ago at the Portugal Diamond Generation Invitational Tournament. I attended as an invited guest and witnessed him stand on the champions podium. He was very thin then, only 1.4 meters tall, but I saw a confident light in his eyes. When I looked back at my own photos, I realized I looked like that when I was a child. So I admire him, but at the same time, I regret his relationship with Barcelona. I hope to see him wearing a Barcelona jersey someday. As a Barcelona legend and former Barcelona coach, Cruyff, while expressing his goodwill towards Duncan, also wanted to act as a peacemaker. Theoretically, Cruyff could return to coach Barcelona. And if he did, Duncan's importance to him would exceed everyone's imagination. Duncan is the perfect prototype of the core of Cruyff's football philosophy. While his ball control and dribbling skills are still somewhat raw, Deng Kai's vision, awareness, and on-field decision-making even surpass Cruyff's initial definition of a midfield core. Cruyff was the one who brought Barcelona to its peak. The Barcelona Dream Team dynasty he established remains unforgettable. After his departure, Van Gaal's transformation of Barcelona can hardly be considered successful, and the Dream Team dynasty has been slow to materialize. If Cruyff had taken over Barcelona, with Deng Kai as the core, coupled with the Dream Team DNA already deeply ingrained in Barcelona's youth training and tactical philosophy, Barcelona could have instantly entered the Dream Team era, making it even more enduring and glorious than the original. Faced with Cruyff's earnest expectations, Deng Kai replied, "Cruyff is one of the greatest players of all time. I'm a die-hard fan of his, the kind who owns autographed footballs. My development is inextricably linked to Cruyff. For a long time, I struggled to get past opponents on the field until I studied Cruyff's ball-handling techniques. I learned to push people, I learned to compete. But wearing a Barcelona jersey, I think that's something I could only do in my past life. Or perhaps, Mr. Cruyff would become Barcelona's coach again. I have no ill will towards Barcelona's players, it's just that with my current experience, it's hard for me to like this club. It's no one's fault, it's what we Easterners often call fate." Cruyff wasn't persistent. Deng Kai was understanding and gave him face, saying he would consider joining Barcelona if he became their coach. So, the immediate priority is to become Barcelona's coach again. Deng Kai wasn't worried about Cruyff becoming Barcelona's coach. Although the current Barcelona president, Gaspart, has stepped into the limelight, the actual control of Barcelona remains with former President Nunes. Gaspart's options were very limited, and certainly not including appointing Cruyff, whose relationship with Nunes had soured, as the team's head coach. Thus, thanks to Cruyff's promotion, Deng Kai finally started to make waves this summer. His status in the football world rose significantly. This was similar to how the future Qatari consortium desperately tried to retain Mbappé, thereby greatly elevating Mbappé's status in football. Status is judged by influence. And influence often only becomes apparent after events occur. Deng Kai had already begun to influence the appointment of the Barcelona head coach and the acquisition of championship-level teams, abilities that many established stars of this period did not possess. August 29th. Oh. This is truly an unexpected result. I think Alvacas fans can now shout what Mourinho said before, the five-time champions have fallen. And they won't be proven wrong like Mourinho, because there won't be any more champions this year. Sporting Lisbon actually lost their third Portuguese league match 0-1. Their form is very inconsistent right now, 2 losses and a draw in 3 matches, it's worrying. They seem to have lost their dominance in the Portuguese league, However, their players don't seem frustrated by the loss, they seem to be still immersed in past glory. This is a very dangerous post-championship syndrome. The thirst for glory is often the most important driving force for a star player's brilliance. The players of five-time champion Sporting Lisbon seem to have lost this motivation in a short period of time. Apart from the newly signed players, the performance of the veteran players is unsatisfactory. Media evidence confirms this. Even the most energetic player, Deng Kai, significantly reduced his running distance in this match. They now have much higher expectations for Deng Kai. Running 10,000 meters in a single match is no longer enough for them. They never considered that the veteran players holding back might be a tactical requirement from Sporting Lisbon. Chapter 423 Abandoned 433, switched to 3,232. On September 8, in the fourth round of the Portuguese Primeira Liga, the highly anticipated Sporting Lisbon and Leiria drew 2-2. 4 rounds without a win. Even the most clueless person could see that the five-time champions were in trouble. This is a huge discrepancy from the fans' expectations. Everyone was expecting the five-time champions to be unstoppable this season. Now they're firmly in the relegation zone. Could this drag Sporting Lisbon down to the Portuguese second division? What kind of operation is this? Has Sporting Lisbon encountered a collective rookie wall? Possibly, but isn't Duncan a future superstar comparable to Cruyff? If he can't even carry the Primeira Liga, is he a flop? Many teams have already played 5 or 6 games this season. For those with new signings, their level is generally clear. Several superstars have underperformed and have been categorized as suspected flops. This includes 2 players with record-breaking transfer fees, Varane, the White Wizard, who transferred from Lazio to Manchester United, and Mendieta, Europe's best midfielder, who transferred from Valencia to Lazio. Now, MVP regulars, the next Cruyff, and 6-time champions Deng Kai have also entered this list. Sporting Lisbon has also been holding frequent tactical meetings recently. Guardiola, as a participant, is very clear about what has happened within the team during this period. Before the start of this season, under Deng Kai's strong push, the team chose a 4-3-3 formation as its regular formation. However, after several rounds of matches, this formation is considered to be unsuitable for Sporting Lisbon at present. This formation requires 2 very top-class wingers with excellent inside-cutting ability. Cristiano Ronaldo and Ronaldinho meet the requirements. Even though Ronaldinho is not the most comfortable player on the right wing, he still meets the standard. His individual ability is extremely outstanding. This formation also needs a very capable center forward. Drogba is actually somewhat lacking in this aspect. Through last season's development, Drogba has already developed functionality and attacking ability. But it's not enough. He still needs to grow. In a 4-3-3 formation, the 2 wingers and the midfield sometimes spread out very far, which requires Drogba to have the ability to solve problems on his own. Therefore, Drogba's underperformance directly lowered the team's floor, failing to provide consistent scoring threat. Replacing him with Ibrahimovic in the starting lineup solved the scoring problem, but the attacking tempo dropped significantly. Stimulated by Ronaldinho, Ibrahimovic essentially became a center-forward version of Ronaldinho, even unleashing Ronaldo's dribbling tendencies, leading to frequent zombie dribbling and step-overs. The 4-3-3 formation demands high levels of running from midfielders, which Duncan and Kaká excel in, with Kaká demonstrating exceptional attitude. He can play box-to-box midfield. However, Guardiola's defensive midfielder doesn't meet the requirements of the formation and tactics. This might have worked in Cruyff and Van Gaal's systems, but not on Duncan's or Guardiola's future system. This formation requires a player with exceptional defensive skills. In this team, only a peak Matos could fill that role. Even Matos at the end of his second stint at Bayern could have done it. But the Matos that Duncan has brought back from retirement is not up to the task. Pepe might be able to do it in 2 or 3 years, but right now he's still not up to par. And the others are even further behind. Finally, this tactic places 2 high demands on the 2 fullbacks. They need extremely strong attacking prowess, overlapping runs, speed, dribbling, and crossing ability. Macon almost perfectly fits this description. Evra falls short considerably. But even Macon has a fatal flaw, timing issues. This isn't a flaw, it's normal. Only with more experience can one better grasp timing. So this problem is unsolvable. Without 2 qualified fullbacks, the strength of the 2 wingers is wasted, and the midfield problems are exposed. One link after another. Since the two fullbacks can't meet the standard in the short term, we have to change our approach. Deng Kai gestured to Maxa to play a new PowerPoint presentation. On the screen, a 3-2-3-2 formation was displayed. This is similar to Sporting Lisbon's formation last season, with one less winger and one more attacking midfielder. But structurally, the differences are actually quite significant. Cristiano Ronaldo and Drogba will be the two strikers, Ibrahimovic will be a regular substitute, and Zidane will be a supplementary striker. Ronaldinho, me, and Kaká will be the three attacking midfielders. We'll pack 5 players up in the attacking third with only one goal, to either defeat the opponent or be defeated by them. If Ronaldinho and Kaká have enough stamina, they can drift wide to play as wingers, broadening the tactical range. However, this will make it difficult for them to have the stamina for defense. Therefore, we need 2 strong defensive midfielders. Initially, I suggest Matos partnering Guardiola, with Yaya Touré and Veloso as key rotation options. For attack, bring on Yaya Touré. For defense, bring on Veloso. For conceding goals, bring on Deschamps. Deschamps? Deng Kai joked. Of course, all our defensive midfielders can theoretically try to play as substitute attacking midfielders, so we won't lack players in midfield, which will be our biggest advantage. For the 3 centre-backs, I suggest Pepe, Vidic, and Barzagli start, with Evra, Font, Makin, Zidane, and others as substitutes. The meeting then voted to approve Deng Kai's proposal. Only Matos objected. He didn't want to start, feeling too tired and lacking stamina. After all, he had just broken up with Malin and found a supermodel girlfriend in Portugal. The early stages of a relationship are physically demanding, you know. Considering that Matos was also born in the year of the dog, disagreeing might lead to his retirement. Deng Kai had to compromise, allowing Yaya Touré, Deschamps, Pepe, and others to start in succession, searching for the best lineup. Font, the water server, secretly rejoiced. He strongly supported Pepe starting as a defensive midfielder because that would make him one of the starting 3 centre-backs. Ha ha ha. An excited Pepe even poured an extra cup of tea for Matos, who had voluntarily withdrawn from the competition. Matos said, I think Makin could be developed more. You were thinking of playing with 2 defenders, right? Makin is very fast up the pitch. Ah, hot. Font deliberately poured boiling water onto Matos's crotch, creating a scene of pants having gravity. However, the things discussed at this meeting are difficult to apply directly in the next match. The team only changed the formation used in training. But it can't be used in the short term. It's not that the players are unfamiliar with the tactics or unsuitable, in fact, the players are more suited to this style of play, which is very similar to their style last season. The reason they can't play is because the next match is a Champions League group stage game. Even with all the money in the league, Kaiserslautern can't afford to play this time. Chapter 424 That man is back. Due to the conflict with Barcelona last season, Kai, Pepe, and Maxa will face suspensions. Maxa's suspension is the longest. Therefore, after the conference, he flew directly to China to join the national team's emergency mobilization group for the 2002 Korea-Japan World Cup campaign, and delivered a passionate speech as the group leader. Suspension? This Saint Maxa is completely indifferent to UEFA. I'm going to wreak havoc on FIFA. Goodbye. September 11th, the first round of the Champions League group stage. The battle begins. PSV Eindhoven faced Galatasaray and suffered a shock defeat. The Turks are experiencing a resurgence. The other pair in the group, Sporting Lisbon and Lazio, did not suffer an upset. Sporting Lisbon, the 5-time champions touted by the media as the strongest team in Europe, suffered a crushing 4-0 defeat, completely collapsing. Young player Yaya Touré, who started the match, was overwhelmed by Mendigo in the first half and was substituted at halftime. It wasn't that Trigura didn't give him a chance, the main problem was that if he wasn't substituted, Yaya Touré's footballing spirit could very well be destroyed. This match made things much better for Mendigo, who was in a precarious situation at Lazio. Evra, on the other hand, was completely outmaneuvered by Czech star Poborský and was also substituted at halftime by Zidane. In attack, Kaká, who replaced Deng Kai as the midfield core, was undoubtedly disappointing. Not only him, but the team's attacking trident, Cristiano Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Drogba, and Ibrahimovic, all faltered against Nesta and Stam, arguably the strongest centre-back pairing in Europe. They were marked so tightly they didn't even have the chance to shoot became a true reflection of their performance. After the match, the media described this Lazio team as terrifyingly strong. Ronaldinho, in an interview, also stated that he couldn't find any way to get past the two center-backs. Only Ronaldo stubbornly declared to the media, "I will definitely score in the next leg." La Repubblica affirmed Ronaldo's statement. Of course he could have scored, because Lazio had already qualified as group winners. As the European Bronze Boot winner, Ronaldo certainly had the potential to score against a completely reserved Lazio squad. Corriere dello Sport, the five-time champions are weaker than expected. This year belongs to Serie A. La Gazzetta dello Sport, many people think Sporting Lisbon lost because of the absence of Duncan, but we find it hard to believe that one person's absence could have such a huge impact. We believe this reflects the gap between Portuguese and Italian football, which is quite normal. Tuttosport, the clamor of this past summer has finally stopped. No one is talking about 5 or even 6 titles anymore. Sporting Lisbon should probably play in the UEFA Cup. Italian media launched a fierce attack. This summer, Portuguese media stole too much media attention, making people think the Portuguese league was the world's best. Those who are declining are more sensitive, and the entire Italian football industry is currently in this phase. Although various signs indicate that La Liga has overtaken Serie A, and the Premier League is closing the gap, Serie A continues to deny this. Following Sporting Lisbon's loss, Mundo Deportivo commented, "Sporting Lisbon's Champions League qualification, won by luck last season, has been squandered this season through their performance. That's how the world is. What doesn't belong to you will eventually leave." On September 16, in the 5th round of the Portuguese Primeira Liga, Sporting Lisbon, having lost in the Champions League, changed their formation, trying a 3-2-3-2 for the first time. Deng Kai scored 2 goals and provided 2 assists, unleashing his full attacking power, leading the team to a 5-3 victory over newly promoted Gil Vicente. However, this match did not receive praise from the media. 2 years ago, when Deng Kai and Cristiano Ronaldo led the Portuguese second division team Moreirense against Gil Vicente, they achieved a similar scoreline. 2 years later, Deng Kai and Ronaldo have become much stronger, their teammates are much more impressive, yet they still conceded 3 goals. The renowned Portuguese media outlet Para stated, "Undeniably, Sporting Lisbon boasts a formidable attacking lineup, which can mask some problems. However, in top-level European competitions, when these forwards lose their sharpness, their issues become glaringly apparent. In the defensive midfield position, the older players lack running ability, while the younger ones lack positional awareness or are severely unbalanced. Fonte has clearly become the biggest weakness at centre-back, and neither Evra nor Macon are much better fits as makeshift centre-backs. Schmeichel's form is significantly different from before the summer, but Sporting Lisbon's backup goalkeeper Reina is too young, making it difficult to have confidence in him. In the next Champions League group stage match, they will most likely still fail to win. On September 19, the second round of the Champions League group stage took place. Boris' prediction came true. Sporting Lisbon's right winger, Ronaldinho, was heavily marked and completely neutralized. Kaká performed better than in the previous match, but still fell short of the contributions of Duncan. His missed open goal, in particular, rendered all of Kaká's efforts futile. His post-match rating, along with Ronaldinho, ranked among the bottom 3 in the team. For Sporting Lisbon, Cristiano Ronaldo was the best performer. In the first half, he received a pass from Drogba on the wing and cut inside to score. In the second half, Ronaldo received a through ball from Guardiola, outmaneuvering Mark van Bommel to complete his brace. However, for PSV Eindhoven, Van Nistelrooy's successor, Kezman, performed no less impressively than Ronaldo, contributing a goal and an assist, earning him the highest rating of the match, just like Ronaldo. The score was 2-2, a disaster for both sides. Both PSV Eindhoven and Sporting Lisbon were winless in 2 rounds, each with only 1 point. Sporting Lisbon had lost more games and was at the bottom of the group. But the most surprising result was Galatasaray. The Turks, after defeating PSV Eindhoven in the first round, then beat the seemingly invincible Lazio in the second, topping the group with 6 points. Their reputation as the top club in the Turkish Super League resounded throughout Europe. The former treble winners of Sporting Lisbon became the focus of media attention. September 23, Portuguese Primeira Liga Round 6. Sporting Lisbon, after changing their formation, finally delivered a stellar performance, thrashing Ferran 6-1. Cristiano Ronaldo scored a hat-trick. Duncan contributed 2 goals and 2 assists in consecutive matches. Ronaldinho provided 2 assists. This reignited their fans' hopes for the Champions League. September 26, Champions League Group Stage Round 3. Sporting Lisbon vs Galatasaray. Ronaldinho shone in this match, creating several threats and winning a penalty. However, Ronaldo, successful in the league, faltered in the Champions League, missing his penalty. In the second half, Kaká gradually adapted to his role as the attacking focal point, delivering a brilliant pass that assisted Ibrahimovic's goal. But soon after, while participating in defense, he inadvertently scored an own goal, helping Galatasaray equalize 1-1, Sporting Lisbon with 2 points in 3 rounds. Essentially eliminated from the Champions League. Their only hope might be third place in the group, then qualifying for the UEFA Cup, returning to their familiar arena. Galatasaray, with 7 points from 3 rounds, continues to clinch the top spot and could secure qualification as early as the next round. Meanwhile, the matches between PSV Eindhoven and Lazio were equally exciting. PSV pulled off a surprise victory, gaining 4 points from 3 rounds and climbing to second place in the group. Lazio, however, suffered another defeat, finishing third with 3 points from 3 rounds. This Serie A powerhouse seems to have suddenly run into trouble. Former European best midfielder Mendigo has been underperforming in both the league and the Champions League, seemingly lost in the Little World Cup. Aside from a bright spot against Sporting Lisbon, he's performed like a substitute. However, the post-match news had nothing to do with the results of these games. In fact, media outlets across Europe didn't report the scores, but instead unanimously published the same headlines: suspension ends. October 16, Deng Kai makes his Champions League debut. The King returns. Can the 6-time Champions League winners' Champions League debut save the team's slump? Bring them their first Champions League victory this season? Tremble, Champions League. The European assist king is back. Can Sporting Lisbon rise from the ashes? Amidst the expectations of fans worldwide, that man is back. He is light, he is electricity, he is the only legend. He is the mastermind behind Sporting Lisbon. He is a shining contributor to their 5-time champions. He is the strongest support for Trigura. He is the mentor and benefactor of Duncan, Ronaldo, and Font. Duncan? Why does this sound like some kind of fraud? Could that man be Maxa? That's right, it's me. Chapter 425 Backyard on Fire, you're always welcome back. When Maxic traveled to China to lead the Chinese team in the final stage of the World Cup qualifiers, he was virtually invisible in the mainstream of world football. You can't expect people to care about the Chinese team's matches, right? Yet, against this backdrop, Maxic led the Chinese men's national team to a 1-0 victory over Oman on October 7, securing their place in the World Cup finals 2 rounds early. Milutinovic? In an instant, Chinese fans' adoration for Maxic reached its peak. Some enthusiastic fans even shouted into the camera during interviews, "Geneva, no. Maxic, awesome." Maxic made a powerful comeback to the mainstream of European football in this way, creating a miracle. In an interview, Maxic expressed his opinion on Sporting Lisbon's current situation. Sporting Lisbon has no problems, they are as healthy as Chinese football. Those in charge of Chinese football fell silent. Has Maxic become so powerful that he disregards external obstacles? Too powerful. Football leaders are reflecting on whether their admiration efforts have been too conservative? Inadequate. Maxi, no player should be criticized for Sporting Lisbon's performance over the past period, because the fault lies not with him. The fault lies with UEFA. UEFA disqualified Duncan from 3 matches, and that's the consequence. Now Duncan is back, which, in Chinese terms, is a triumphant return. It signifies the arrival of victory. Therefore, from the perspective of the I Ching, Sporting Lisbon will undoubtedly experience a series of victories. In fact, we did well in the league, but many people overlooked our later strength because of the early season setbacks. The end of football lies in metaphysics. Maxi's time in China wasn't entirely without gain. He followed the football leaders in daily prayers and incense offerings, thus grasping the true essence of football. Through the I Ching, he determined that next year will be a year of great development for Chinese football, because the hexagram given by the I Ching is a flying dragon in the sky. To achieve better team results, Maxi even gave himself a Chinese name, long, dragon. So, you can also call him Macron. Of course, because fans also like to call him Maxi, the awesome pen, he can also be shortened to Mark Pen. On October 13th, in the 8th round of the Portuguese Primeira Liga, Sporting Lisbon narrowly defeated Braga 4-2. Including 2 Super Cup matches, they have played a total of 13 games, winning 6. In 5 of these victories, both Ronaldinho and Kaká were substituted, specifically before the 70th minute. In another game, Kaká replaced Ronaldinho. Adding to this their performance in the Champions League without Duncan, the problems are becoming increasingly apparent. Some players need to fundamentally change their ways. For example, Kaká, and for example, Duncan. His irrational red card last season was the main responsibility for the team's early exit from the Champions League. He must take responsibility for the lack of honors this season. Ronaldinho's agent, Eric Raffel, expressed this view in the newspaper Bora. As is well known, Bora is not only a well-known Portuguese football media outlet, but also one of the largest anti-Duncan media outlets in Europe. From the beginning of Duncan's career, they have not been optimistic about his development. However, faced with the facts, they became increasingly distorted, constantly seeking out dirt to try and smear Deng Kai. Besides blaming Deng Kai for the loss, Eric Raffel also lent credibility to his claims through mystical events, revealing a cursed match in the European Super Cup. Before this year, a 3-0 lead at halftime was a 100% guarantee of victory. But in the UEFA Cup, Sporting Lisbon rewrote history. The bottle of red wine ordered by Holier became widely known, adding a magical element to the match. Therefore, in the European Super Cup, Bayern placed a bottle of champagne outside Sporting Lisbon's locker room. They originally wanted red wine, but because they hadn't prepared in advance, they only had champagne, but it was almost the same. Sporting Lisbon almost fell victim to the curse, but Deng Kai suggested sacrificing Font to break it. It's said to be an Eastern magical power, an eye for an eye, a blood for a blood, killing one's wife to prove one's worth. Sacrificing a teammate to the heavens, the power is boundless. But now, I suspect the curse is still in effect, and it has fallen on Deng Kai. Because Hitzfeld's curse, fueled by the resentment of all Bayern fans, cannot be neutralized by a mere insignificant Font. Eric Raffel was adamant. This was because Ronaldinho had overheard a conversation between Duncan and Maxi, where Maxi read his research report on the I Ching to Duncan for critique. Raffel then went to study this stuff. This isn't uncommon in football. Many players, whether European, African, or American, are heavily superstitious. Various curses in European football reflect this situation. However, this Eastern magic was a first for Europeans. Raffel's remarks caused a huge uproar. Regardless of the merit of his claims, it showed that Sporting Lisbon was no longer a united front. At least Ronaldinho certainly harbored resentment towards Duncan. He yielded to Duncan's advice but didn't fully acknowledge Duncan's talent. For a technically gifted player like Ronaldinho, things are simple, words are useless. If you can beat him, he'll submit. Just like NBA players judged by their one-on-one ability, the team leader is always the best one-on-one player. No matter how much a role player contributes to the team, if they can't handle the troublemakers in a one-on-one situation, they can forget about becoming the core player. Many future NBA team leaders and core players wouldn't be able to succeed if they went back to this era. It's not about favoring the past over the present, it's just that if you went back then, you'd only be a subordinate. The world revolves around the one-on-one kings, that's the historical context. However, Sporting Lisbon handled the situation very quickly. All the players refused to give any interviews. All of them. Deng Kai invited Ronaldinho to dinner. During the dinner, he didn't question Ronaldinho at all, and the two didn't discuss any football-related topics. Only after dinner did Deng Kai politely pat Ronaldinho on the shoulder and say, "I like the way you play football. You will become the best in the world. There are many similar players in this world, but you are different. There is only one Ronaldinho. Believe me, Ronaldinho, I will always have goodwill towards you. I will definitely find a way to let you play the football you want to play, but you must know that it's difficult to do so in every game. Remember, I and the team will always welcome you back." Ronaldinho didn't quite understand at the time. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.